Welcome one, welcome all to Pit Road Productions this fine Monday evening. It's time once again for the Podium 1 Fixed Series Championships. We've got TCR and GT4 for the first race and the GT3 Series for the second race. Two action-packed events in one stream tonight here on Pit Road Productions. And we're at a beautiful Italian circuit here, one with plenty of history, some of it tragic, but we'll have to wait and see what virtual history the drivers can make on the virtual surface tonight. It's me, Reese Gardner, with Daniel Zippy Salmon alongside me in the commentary booth, and also producing behind the scenes, responsible for bringing you this this beautiful live picture and this slightly less beautiful live picture.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, usually it's me who makes the self-deprecating humor, but Reese Gardner stepping up to the plate.
I figured I'd change it up.
Attaboy, attaboy. I wish I could switch up and have your phenomenal track knowledge, but ladies and gentlemen, Reese Gardner is an absolute encyclopedia when it comes to those things in the nicest of ways. But certainly, Imola, definitely a circuit I've been looking for. The TCRs, the GT4s, and indeed the GTDs we got a bit later. Honestly, all three series of car would be absolutely fantastic to drive through here. Myself, in the first race, you know what? I think I'd actually want to try out a TCR for this. I think it'd be a refreshing change, and certainly the corner setup as well. I think it would make for some really good racing, and certainly we've seen that here so far in the TCRs. But speaking of where we are, let's have a look indeed where we've been and indeed where we're going.
Absolutely. We started off the season in January at Sebring, went to Detroit Belle Isle for week 2, round 3 last week at Misano. We're here in Imola for round 4, staying in Italy before we hop back over to the United States just a couple of days after Valentine's Day for Long Beach. Then Daytona plays host to round 6, Road Atlanta round 7, round 8, my home turf in Adelaide, as close to my home turf as you can get. I'm in Perth. Miami and Indianapolis to end off the season. 10 rounds over the course of this, Zippy, and every single one of them at a very nice circuit that should be quite interesting for multi-class racing in particular with the TCRs and GT4s.
Absolutely. It's only Imola, one of the longer tracks, I'd say. The lap times around here varying from about 1:49 all the way to 1:59. So about 10 seconds in the difference, which I have a feeling with the multi-class could make it a little bit more attainable to get them passes done. It all depends as to where you get caught up. Obviously, Imola having that fantastic straightaway. But certainly before we get too stuck in, let's take a look here at the championship standings. Ladies and gentlemen, here in the GT4, as you see Amrit Pastrana there taking the lead, but only by 1 point. Pierce Fox right behind, and that's not over yet. Maxwell Bird just 3 points off the lead. Even then, battles happening throughout there. Doug Sorrentino, 131. Further down, though, Sean Phillips and Chris Schusler. Just 2 points between them, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, my apologies there. I can't read it. No, it is 2 points between them. Ladies and gentlemen, I need to put my glasses on. I can't read that from here. But I believe Reese can do a better job here of the TCRs.
Well, we'll see. Michael Pacheco is also leading by only 1 point. Drew Martin shadowing him very closely indeed. Andrew Garov on 144 points. And then we have our series administrator from Podium 1, our other series administrator, I should say, CJ Conklin, 124 points. We have Harvey Sierra, Scott Laurenti, Zeke Sauter, Quinn Manders, Simon Carter, and Jason Bush, the 10 cars that have been competing in TCR thus far. Let's see which one of them manages to come out of this one on top. Pacheco and Martin currently sitting 2nd and 5th in TCR qualifying, so be interesting to see where they can come out from here.
Absolutely as well, and we couldn't do this without the help of our sponsors, ladies and gentlemen. I believe Reese is going to start it off with Carbliss.
Indeed, returning sponsor Carbliss, offering a line of premium canned cocktails designed for drinkers who refuse to compromise on flavor or fitness goals. These ready-to-drink options featuring vodka, rum, and tequila bases for classic drinks like margaritas and mojitos are built on a simple promise: bold flavor with zero compromises. Every 12-ounce can is 0 sugar, 0 carbs, gluten-free, and just 100 calories.
I got to admit, Carbliss there. I definitely got to find a way to try and get that over here in Canada, because I want to try that. That sounds absolutely delightful. Drink responsibly, but if you're going to drink, get Carbliss. This is a bit more in my area of expertise, ladies and gentlemen. Nixon Power, a new series sponsor, is headquartered in Brentwood, Tennessee, and focus exclusively on power generation marketplace. They provide industrial, residential, and marine generators, complemented by an aftermarket team that delivers premium technical services and parts support. Ladies and gentlemen, if you live in Nova Scotia right now, you certainly have a big hate on for the Power Authority, and with good reason. It's a joke, and it's a monopoly, but certainly if you do lose power and you're in Tennessee, why not check out these guys? Give Nixon Power a call.
Moza Racing is a fast-growing brand making high-performance sim racing hardware for PC and console, VR, and flight simulation. Known for affordable, powerful direct-drive wheelbases, modular wheels, and pedals, Moza offers a full automotive-engineered ecosystem from beginner bundles to high-end setups, including durable, realistic equipment like steering wheels, digital dashes, and flight simulation gear. One of my favorite things that Moza makes is their truck steering wheel, a gigantic tiller of a thing that's great for Euro Truck Sim.
Yeah, I want one of those. I gotta be honest, it's on the shopping list. I don't like, if you think about it, like doing, like, Reese, you can relate to this as well. A lot of games now are simulators are doing real life work, and it makes no sense to me whatsoever. But I'd like to do that. I've done truck sim, but I don't really want to do it with like a GT3 style wheel. It would just seem wrong. But certainly Moza are the only people in the marketplace to do that. And they do the thing so you can put the turn signal stalks on it as well. Incredible, ladies and gentlemen. Moving on though, Speed Designs. Certainly it's going to be an absolute pleasure once again to see these guys back. Located in Phoenix, Arizona, they specialize in custom helmet painting, providing unique, modern, and high-speed designs to drivers across the globe, including those in Formula One, IMSA, Pro Karting, NASCAR, and dirt track racing. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a feeling he might have done Swelly Almeida's helmet as well, but certainly there is a lot of drivers that Darwin's done the artwork for, and by all means check him out. His son as well. Keep an eye on him, because I have a feeling we're going to be hearing more about his endeavors very shortly as well. That leads us on to our final sponsor of the night. Reese, do the honors, sir.
Yes, of course. Last but certainly not least, Podium 1 Racing is a Nashville, Tennessee-based builder of turnkey racing and flight simulator systems. They offer premium, ready-to-use rigs that integrate high-end components from companies such as Fanatec, Azatek, and Cubic Motion Systems to meet the needs of serious racers and professional training environments. They are the main company behind all of this that you're seeing on screen at the moment, and providing fantastic service. Make sure to check Podium 1 out. Oh boy, let's get into it then, Zippy. Qualifying is just about over here at Imola. Of course, the drivers have been negotiating those chicanes with those brutal curbs, and it would appear that we have our usual suspects up the top of the order, but we will have to wait and see who sets the best lap times here at the end of the session. This is a single race server, so though the qualifying session is now reaching the checkered, anyone who's currently on a lap can finish it.
Yeah, so I gotta be honest, Doug Sorrentino usually taking the top step, but right now Amrit Pastrana getting the better of him. Atta boy, nothing against Doug, he's a pretty chill dude, but by all means, definitely not got the same kind of pace here at Imola. Checking out the TCR though, Javi Sierra, he's been pretty dominant so far, and indeed has resumed that top step, but further down though, excuse me, Quinn Mandatory and Jack Minter, pretty similarly matched. However, TCR versus GT4.
Yes, indeed. Looks like Jack Minter's been unable to set a time faster than a 1 minute 57, and he has to get down to a 1 minute 54 or thereabouts in order to start the race in front of the TCR field. He is hoping that this lap is going to be the one for Jack Minter, but Imola, a track where it's very easy to pick up off tracks, very easy to run beyond the bounds of this racetrack. It would appear that Jack Minter is practically crawling there through Variante Alta, the high chicane, as it were. That's the literal translation. But he's hoping that he'll be able to improve his grid position somewhat. Doesn't look like anyone else is really on an improvement at the moment. Quinn Manders has just pulled into the pits there, so 5th place at least in GT4 in TCR is his. Sean Phillips across the line in the Mustang. He sets a new personal best down to a 1 minute 53.2. Not quite enough to elevate his grid position, but at least there is an improvement at the end of the session there, and Jack Minter gains 1 grid position with a 157.5. He will still be starting in the middle of our TCR pack.
Yeah, I have a feeling it may indeed put the classes together again. I'm not too sure. Please don't quote me on that, ladies and gentlemen. But what I can tell you is that is indeed the end of qualifying. I'm just waiting for the session to tick over. But in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, what I can also show you is we have live race control here yet again, ladies and gentlemen. And here we go. We got camera feed right from there. The one and only Mr. CJ Conklin. And I got to say, we've been working very closely. We're hopefully going to see a little bit of an update for you guys today here, as we've been hopefully. I say that hopefully, ladies and gentlemen, we did some testing and we should get the race control messages from CJ popping up on the broadcast for you today as well. So certainly, if you do see their messages pop up, take note, ladies and gentlemen, it's being controlled by this man, the one and only league admin and indeed talented musician that is CJ Conklin.
Yeah, always a fun time chatting to CJ after the races have concluded. We will be seeing a little bit more coming from this very shortly. Qualifying is officially over. We're just in that final couple of seconds of overtime before we jump over to the race session and get gridding. Here we are then. The number 88 of Amrit Vestrala is going to be starting on pole with Doug Sorrentino alongside him. Pierce Fox and Maxwell Budd on row number 2. Dustin Warren and Tommy Polte are 5th and 6th. Sean Phillips and Jack Minter round out our GT4 field. Javi Sierra taking pole in the TCRs with Michael Pacheco, championship leader, alongside him. Andrew Garov and Drew Martin rounding out those top 4 positions. Then Quinn Manders and Scott Laurenti will be taking those final spots there. CJ Conklin, of course, in race control, going to be sitting in the pits, though he has joined in a TCR machine. So, rolling start, Zippy, and the GT4s look to be gridded together as you predicted. Jack Minter is fortunately ahead of all of our TCRs, so he will get the opportunity to race directly against his own class on lap 1.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly, I gotta say, there's some beautiful looking paints here, and I'm trying to work out exactly who has that Cayman. I believe that is indeed, it's Tommy Polte, ladies and gentlemen. Don't get me wrong, we've got some tasteful paints here, but I've got to say, that is absolutely gorgeous. I'm loving just how much it pops, ladies and gentlemen. See a couple of different angles there. Definitely wouldn't miss it in a parking lot by all means. It's definitely got a little bit of that midnight feel going about it.
Certainly has. Really like seeing liveries that try something a little bit different. Here we go then, rolling on this formation lap. And keeping an eye on the track temperature here. It is early morning in Sim. We've just gone past 8 a.m. and so 19 degrees Celsius track temperature. It's quite cool out there, which means the tires are going to take a bit to come up to temperature. The drivers need to be well aware of that. There's some heavy braking zones around this circuit, and there's plenty of potential for incidents in the opening laps. As long as you keep it clean, you will succeed.
Yeah, definitely, and indeed you can see there, that's Amrit Vestrala pulling up in that Mustang. He's going to be keen, currently riding on behind the pace car right now. I have to say, definitely Doug Sorrentino starting on second place. I think that's the first time this season he hasn't taken the pole position here in the GT4 class. So fair play to him. We're having a little bit of a connection issue there for who I believe is Maxwell Budd. He's there in P4 and indeed P3 overall, ladies and gentlemen, in the championship. But I've got to say, I'm really looking forward to this. Certainly Imola, it's on the Princess approved track list, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly I would love to be driving this event, but you're just gonna have to put up with me here in the booth, joining the one and only Mr. Reese Gardner.
Here we go then. Power down for Amrit Vestrala, and Doug Sorrentino has been right with him there. That's a solid start from our GT4 field. Green flag flies and we are racing at Imola. Sorrentino immediately pressuring Vestrala in the Mustang as they make their way down to Tamburello for the first time. Vestrala will lead into the corner, but Sorrentino trying some alternate lines here. He's going to be getting back alongside him very shortly, and Pierce Fox isn't too far behind either. The TCRs have started. Sierra versus Pacheco into turn 1, and it looks like Pacheco is going to slot in behind, but he needs to be careful of Andrew Garov in the Civic. Looks like he's managed to clear Drew Martin and Scott Laurenti.
Yeah, look like Scott Laurenti was able to get one up there on Quinn Manners. Beautiful move there going into turn 1, ladies and gentlemen. But indeed, battles happening throughout. And I honestly feel the TCR class is going to be the one to watch, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly the Hondas taking that by storm. 4 Hondas and 3 Audis, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, nobody wanted to rock a Hyundai this week. Fair play to them. But looking at some good battles already. And I've got to say, some beautiful looking paint jobs as well. Certainly Michael Pacheco, we recognize him. He has had some good success here in this series so far. But we're going to have to see how it works out. Jack Minter currently not quite on the pace here of the GT4s, but don't underestimate this guy. In a GT3, he punches way above his weight class, as Dustin Warren there having an incident as well.
Fellow Porsche Cayman there, the Peasant Row Racing number 44, goes deep at Acqua Minerale. This is one of those corners where it's really easy to make a mistake. You're braking and turning at the same time, and on cold tires, it's very easy to lose the rear. Fortunately, some concrete in the runoff area for Warren to get back going. It's been a pretty clean start otherwise, aside from Drew Martin having an issue in the 003 TCR entry. Looks like CJ Conklin, who has taken to the grid, has actually managed to get past him there, and it looks like a bit of a catch of the grass through I think that's the exit of the Villeneuve chicane that he's managed to lose it at.
Yeah, definitely easily done. Cold tires, ladies and gentlemen. Look like there's a bit of debris on there as well. But as we return to the lead of the GT4 battle, indeed, you can see Douglas Laurentino looking to try and find his way past Amrit Pastrana. He's been applying pressure this whole time, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed, the number 69 car, that AMG Mercedes, very, very potent tonight. But is he going to be potent enough to find his way ahead of that mighty Mustang as Harry Sierra sets the fastest lap in TCRs?
Yep, Avi Sierra is on the pace at the moment, but Amrit Pastrana, the quickest car of them all at the moment, a 1 minute 50.58 is his current fastest lap time. Apparently everyone got an off track at least once on the first lap there. No one has officially set a fastest lap yet.
Oh,
Sorrentino tries up the inside here of the Piratella corner, manages to get it done on Amrit Pastrana. And it's going to be a bit of a response that we'll have to wait for there from Pastrana. It's not easy to make moves at this area of the circuit.
One thing I am noticing there, Reese, is we're getting a little bit of a slide there on corner exits. I believe something's happened with dear friend Tommy Polte. We're going to have to take a quick look here, as indeed that Cayman is definitely down on pace all of a sudden, and it looks like Dustin Warren's going to seize an opportunity there. Is he going to get the run? Absolutely he is. The beautiful Porsche Cayman of Tommy Polte. I say dispensed with, but not quite. He's still there, still applying pressure. This battle is about to liven up, but in the meantime, let's find out exactly what happened to the driver of the number 26.
Yeah, once again, it's a problem down at Acqua Minerale. Cold tires, brake bias to the rear, gets on the brakes here, but just loses it on the way into the corner. Unfortunate there for Tommy, but I think in the next couple of laps, those kinds of incidents should be done and dusted with, just because the tires will be up to temperature. Stone cold circuit practically that we're dealing with today.
Yeah, definitely a little bit on the chilly side. And you see there, Dustin Warren had to send it a little bit, but by all means, he got the job done. Fair play from these guys, though, are now going to be battling again, as I believe they're pretty much going side by side. They are indeed making their way down towards turn 1. Dustin Warren trying to hold on in the number 44 as he hops the curb there. Polte right up on the rear bumper. If he gets any closer, he's going to take that car off.
Yeah, it's very easy to get some very tight runs through the chicanes here at Imola. Oh, looks like Polte had a little bit of a loose moment there, overcorrected, and now Dustin Warren has some more breathing room, so Tommy's going to have to wait for another opportunity there. These two battling quite closely, as well as the entire top 4 in GT4. Sorrentino's been starting to gap Amrit Pastrana at the front of the field, and Pierce Fox and Maxwell Budd are starting to take advantage. They see an opportunity to move into the podium places. Pacheco, meanwhile, has not been able to keep up with Javi Sierra, but crucially for him, Drew Martin, with his mistake early on, has fallen way down the order. He's a long way off in 6th place, so Pacheco at least should be able to get a championship points advantage out of this if it all stays the same.
Yeah, certainly Pacheco there. Oh! Not like that, you won't. Definitely a little bit of a detour there. Certainly that seems to be the corner. Oh my, that was a little close there. Andrew Garreau definitely going to be sweating a little bit over that, but able to get the position secured, at least for now. As you see there, that was your TCR leader, Javi Sierra, making his way through the chicane.
Yes, so Javi is working it nicely out in front at the moment. Andrew Garov now finds himself in P2, and it looks like Scott Laurenti, who's been steadily gaining spots throughout this race, getting into the rhythm himself. So there's potential for a battle there. Garov runs a bit deep at Rivazza 1. It's all about the exit from Rivazza 2, though, because you got this entire long start-finish stretch to take advantage of whatever momentum you may have. The slightly faster accelerating Audi of Michael Pacheco will be trying his best to stay in touch.
Yeah, it certainly is indeed. I've not driven the TCR cars too much here, Reese, but certainly I have enjoyed taking a couple of laps in the Audi and indeed in the Elantra as well, just because Swellio's got one, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly, if you want to go faster, by all means, check out the Almeida Academy. But speaking of things we're fans of, indeed people who are fans of us, we've got Jake Hens back in the chat. Thank you very much, Jake. And we'll say it again, ladies and gentlemen, without a doubt, Pit Road Productions' #1 fan. But on that subject, ladies and gentlemen, at the start of this broadcast, we are just 10 subscribers short of hitting that 1,000 benchmark. So by all means, if you haven't done it already, hit the subscribe button and make this man a very happy man indeed as Valentine's Day approaches.
Oh yes, it would be the greatest gift of love we could receive to breach that 1K barrier in the next couple of days, maybe even by the end of this broadcast if we've got enough people on board. 10 subs away from 1,000. Make it happen. Subscribe and hit the bell on YouTube. Tommy Polte then, still not able to make his way back past Dustin Warren. Both he and Warren are now down one position from where they started. Sean Phillips passing both of them in the early laps to round out the top 5. Phillips, we remember, made that improvement at the end of qualifying. Not the paciest of our GT4 drivers, but it appears racecraft is his strength and staying out of trouble is another.
Well, one thing I have just noticed is Amrit Mastrala has taken the fastest lap away from Doug Sorrentino. Not only that, he's managed to catch up now. He's about 0.3 of a second clear. Pierce Fox lurking in the background, as is Maxwell Budd. We may have a 4-way fight for the lead here very soon. Certainly Maxwell Budd and Pierce Fox pretty evenly matched so far. The 008 versus the 24, the Mercedes versus the Porsche. But indeed, if the guys ahead keep battling, this could be an opportunity for a 4-way fight for the lead.
Oh, certainly could. Got to make sure they don't slow each other up, Pierce Fox and Maxwell Budd. Otherwise, they will lose touch with Sorrentino and Vestrala. 22 minutes still remaining on the clock here. And this is a good opportunity to compare the driving characteristics of our GT4 cars. Sorrentino in the Mercedes, and that's my main weapon of choice. It's a nice all-rounder, but it does tend to understeer a little bit, especially through those slow corners. Vestrala in the Mustang, meanwhile, it's a car that has good straight-line speed, plenty of power, but it tends to oversteer quite a bit. You've got to be so careful on the power and through the mid-corner in that car. Meanwhile, the Porsche Cayman is looking good for some nice mid-engined action here. It looks like Jack Minter in the last running of our GT4s under pressure from our TCR leader.
Yeah, Harry Sierra's been an absolute machine behind the wheel of this Honda Civic, and by all means, fair play to him. It definitely is a little bit of a different driving style, rocking the TCRs, but he's got the run. But on the straightaway, he's just no match for that Cayman GT4. Jack Minter just burying his foot to the floor and trying to run away with it here, but the cornering speed from that Civic's fair play to him as Minter cuts across, and I believe he's going to pick up, he has indeed, picks up a black flag, ladies and gentlemen, or indeed a yellow flag from the race marshals, and indeed has to concede that position.
Indeed, he does. Far from ideal for Jack Minter at the moment. He's lost touch with the rest of the GT4 pack, and somewhat surprisingly, Maxwell Budd has the fastest lap in the GT4 class at the moment. He and Amrit Vestrala, the first to really get below the 1 minute 50-second barrier. Doug Sorrentino as well with that kind of pace. Pierce Fox a little bit off at the moment, but not by much. There's only a difference of a few hundredths of a second at most between all of these guys in the top 4.
Yeah, definitely a very, very even match here between the top 4. And indeed, on iRating, it's Doug Sorrentino should pretty much have this slam dunked. But certainly, Reese, maybe you can answer this a little bit more than myself. The GT4s, how much of an influence would the draft have on these cars?
it exists, but it's not a huge advantage. These cars, I think, are just beyond that top speed barrier that makes the slipstream a little bit harder to pick up and take advantage of. I think getting the corner exit better is the main idea. Let's see what Maxwell Budd does off the exit of Ravazza 2. Carries a lot of momentum into the corner, nails the exit, barely any oversteer at all, and we can see for ourselves how strong the slipstream actually is. The Cayman has a smaller footprint than the other GT4s, so maybe not as much of a slipstream advantage running behind one of them, and you can see there's barely any advantage at all that Maxwell Budd gets.
Yeah, I don't think he even got a tenth of a second out of that race. Certainly, the Cayman maybe not as good to follow behind. And don't get me wrong, it's got a nice rear wing on it. And out of the GT4 field, it would be the one that I would probably desire most. Was it Porsche Cayman? Is it the GT2? I can't even remember now. I just remember the marketing for it was a bright yellow Porsche, and they did it in like a green as well. And I have a friend who literally has one of them. A Porsche Cayman GT4. That's the one I'm thinking of. That would be my dream everyday sports car. It's not a supercar, but you know, it's definitely on the spicier side for sure, and actually one of the best cars you can have for our local racetrack with Atlantic Motorsport Park. But certainly in this scenario, the AMG appears to have a little bit of an advantage, I'd say. Twin turbo V8 under the hood of the Mercedes AMG GT4. A twin turbo flat 6 in the Porsche. Michael Pacheco then, actually, I think a flat 4. Michael Pacheco, 2 liter inline 4-cylinder for the GT for the TCR class. Same sort of engine configuration for all of them, and a very closely matched class. The Audi has a slightly shorter wheelbase than the Honda Civic, and so Pacheco has a bit more of an advantage in the twisties. But it would appear that Andrew Garov has made his way past, and well, you see how strong the slipstream is in the TCRs here. It is a bit stronger than it is in the GT4s. They've lost touch with Harvey Sierra. It's a battle for the runner-up position from here. Indeed, these guys are battling. I think something may have happened with Dustin Warren as well. As you can see here, Andrew Garov very much under pressure right now. Let's see just how much he's sweating, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed, he's actually looking pretty cool, calm and collected right now. I'd be sweating a little bit more, though. These two drivers separated by just 64 iRating between them. On paper, pretty much inseparable, ladies and gentlemen. But right now, Andrew Garov doing everything he can to try and hold on to that P2 in class. Yep, doing everything he can for sure. And it looks like Doug Sorrentino is doing everything he can to hold on to the lead in GT4, because Amrit Vestrala tried making a couple of dives on him at Villeneuve. Almost got it done, but not quite. Vestrala now with the fastest lap of the race, and he's looking to make a charge of things. I've got to say, out of all the cars we've seen so far, the Mustang definitely sounds the angriest, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think it is, but it does sound supercharged. You know, it's a beautiful sound, ladies and gentlemen. I am definitely a sucker for a 5-liter. That is, it makes me want to indulge in all sorts of bad financial automotive decisions. Certainly, my friend of mine he picked up a 5-liter very shortly, and we got another friend who's nothing but a Mustang enthusiast, ladies and gentlemen. Believe me, the temptation's there, but having to do a 100 kilometers of commuting each day, I've been able to withhold, and understandably so. Subaru almost getting the better of me last week as well. Indeed. 5-liter V8 sounds close to my heart as well. That was the engine format for the V8 Supercars Championship down here in Australia for well over 20-30 years, and so this is the car that sounds the most like a supercar out of the GT4 class. Sorrentino in the lead in the twin-turbo V8 Mercedes is caught up to Drew Martin, who is the last running of our TCRs at the moment. Pulls out of the slipstream very late there. He wanted every advantage he could get, and Drew Martin sees them sail past, but slightly shorter braking distances for our TCRs. That brings them together here. Quinn Manders has to give up the position to Drew Martin in the process. Slowed up to let our GT4 leaders by, and Martin said, "Thank you very much, mate." Yeah, I gotta say, Drew Martin took a right advantage. Look at that. That was Pierce Fox, ladies and gentlemen. Just appeared out of nowhere. Now we're gonna see Maxwell Budd trying to make his way by as well. Certainly the GT4s coming through. They're bringing it pretty clean about it, in all fairness. Anybody who's ever done a 24-hour race and had the back in the olden days, ladies and gentlemen, where you had the LMP2s flying past you when it was GT3, certainly it was not always quite as gracious there. But I gotta say, the Podium 1 drivers clearing the overcast quite beautifully. And saying that, Quinn Manders not really going very well out of the scenario. Drew Martin able to not only get a position, but pull away by about 1.1 seconds. Manders is going to want to try and catch up to that draft and indeed fight back very, very shortly. Meanwhile, though, Andrew Gurov and indeed Michael Pacheco pretty much inseparable at this point, but saying that, the GT4s are indeed approaching.
Yes, can't see them at the moment behind Pacheco, but they will surely not be far away. Lap times, in terms of their quickest pace, it's incredibly well matched throughout the field. You know, I'm not seeing anyone with a significant advantage over anyone else. Martin and Manders, for instance, fastest laps only separated by 0.02 of a second. Pacheco and Garov, their fastest lap times are only separated by 0.1000 of a second. It's incredibly competitive out there.
It really is, Reese, and certainly it is an absolute pleasure that we've got such close competition here in the Podium 1 Podium 1 Fixed Series Championship. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize, I get the name mixed up because it's changed a couple of times, but the names have been very similar each time. By all means, I'm also a bit of an old man at heart, but right now, that is where the biggest battle is. As I say that, Maxwell Budd still applying a good amount of pressure to Pierce Fox, but has not managed to find his way by. These four guys very evenly matched. Meanwhile, though, Tommy Polte has managed to catch up to the back of Sean Phillips now. He's about 0.4 of a second behind.
Yeah, Tommy's been setting some good lap times. He's dispatched Dustin Warren, and now right on the back of the white/grey Mustang there, who clatters across the speed bumps at Tamburello.
Oh!
A lot of pace lost, and oh dear, he lost a bit of control there. Tommy Polte, an innocent victim, and well, we'll see how much damage he ends up having from that. The GT4s can take a beating, but Polte has taken too much of a beating. He has a mechanical black flag thanks to that mistake.
That is definitely unfortunate. This is where indeed race control may have to step in, ladies and gentlemen, but certainly on that one, the race is still under green flag conditions, and I've got to say, understandably so, both cars still moving, but indeed, Tommy Polte coming out a little bit unfortunate there, and just with my my not expert opinion on this scenario, I'm going to say that front control arm has definitely broken on the front of that car, but fair play to Tommy, he's getting it round there. If we have a look from a cockpit view, though, the wheel actually looks pretty good. His alignment surprisingly getting away with that, but the car definitely seems a little bit on the unstable side.
Yeah, in the left turns, it's quite unstable. So Polte will have to bring that one back to the pits, unfortunately. This is only a 30-minute race, and so there's no requirement for a pit stop in either of our classes. But if you get damage, of course, bring it back into the pits. Dustin Warren, meanwhile, has had his own set of issues here. Coming into Aqua Minerale again. Seems to be a favorite turn to lose the rear end today. Hopefully he'll be able to keep that up from here. But it's not ideal. It looks like Warren also had that issue there shortly after Polte got past him. That left-hander is one of the most difficult on this track.
Right-hander. Right-hander. That right-hander. Yep. I get it, you're looking at it back. Well, certainly Dustin Warren has not been a big fan of that corner. Indeed, that is his Achilles heel as Tommy Polte brings it down pit road, as does Sean Phillips. Now, I'm trying to remember if these guys do indeed have a faster pair, but let's regain to the battle at the front of the pack, ladies and gentlemen, as indeed, Amrit Pastrana now back down to 0.3 of a second. He keeps applying the pressure, but with no pit stop as well. I'm starting to wonder, is he going to wait till the last minute to try and make a pass on the straight? Is he just going to keep Doug Sorrentino there under pressure and indeed hope that is enough to throw him off in the closing stages of this race? Maxwell Budd, however, I've got to wonder, is he going to be in the same technique? Don't get me wrong, we've got 3 different manufacturers here in the top 4, but right now Mercedes in the lead and Mercedes in behind as well. Definitely some interesting strategies going on. I do have to wonder what's going to be the one of success.
Yes, I wonder too. Andrew Garov brings it into pit lane meanwhile. Unsure if that's due to a penalty or something besides, but That's all much of a muchness in the end. Maxwell Budd continuing to pressure Pierce Fox for third in GT4. Looks like Garov might have just decided to get a couple of small repairs done. The TCRs can be a bit sensitive to suspension damage, but lap times between our front runners, Fox 2/10 faster. Actually, sorry, Bud 2/10 faster than Fox on the previous lap. Doug Sorrentino a couple of tenths faster than Amrit Vestrala. So our Mercedes both have the advantage here in this front four pack. Can they maintain it for the next 6 laps?
Yeah, certainly they definitely got the legs on the straightaway. I'd say the Cayman not quite able to pull away indeed, but more nimble in the corners there. Look at that on the power, ladies and gentlemen. Maxwell Budd noticeably making gains, but here we go around this tight chicane. I have a feeling the Cayman's going to be a little bit more nimble, and on corner exit, he was definitely on the power that little bit quicker. But once the Mercedes gets rolling, he's got him Sam beat, ladies and gentlemen. The bulldozer engine of that Mercedes, quite the formidable adversary.
Oh yes, it's a very nice engine actually to drive. It has a lot of torque down low and plenty of power up high. You can really get some nice smooth drives out of this Mercedes, but the curbs around here do their best to interrupt that rhythm, particularly up here at Variante Alta. It's got gigantic curbs that you can put the car all the way across. It looks like Bud isn't using them as much as some others. It can be a little bit risky, flirting with the track limits down there, but a lot of advantage to be gained by nailing the line through these chicanes, and using the curbs properly is a big part of that.
Yeah, certainly myself, I know exactly what you mean about trying to really push the curbs, but I find the stability is a little bit of that as well. Don't get me wrong, it's good fun, and I would love to do that particular chicane in a motion rig. I think if any track was going to demonstrate just how much fun motion is, that would be a good one. And certainly, if you want to get some sim racing gear, by all means, check out Podium 1, ladies and gentlemen. There is a good reason they're one of the top sim racing retailers in North America, certainly offering turnkey systems as well. And certainly CJ Conklin would be a good man to ask about sim racing gear as well. He works for Podium 1, ladies and gentlemen, and indeed is an enthusiast through and through. But right now, I've got to say, the battles are starting to spice up, as it looks like Jack Minter now looks like he wants to take a piece of Michael Pacheco.
Yes, so racing side by side with TCRs. There's the straight line speed advantage of the TCR, of the GT4, sorry. I always get these classes confused for some reason. I'm not sure why, but he's dispatched him well enough. It looks like we are not able to see those race control messages on stream, Zippy, because I can see in Sim here that there was a drive-through for incident level for the 003 of Drew Martin. That's the reason why we saw him in the lane. So I think first real race control decision / event of the race. There have been a couple of warnings for incident level as well throughout the field, but Martin's managed to get back out in 6th in TCR and should be able to complete these last 4 laps without issue.
Yeah, certainly I do hope so. Just check the settings on my side. Everything should be good. So certainly, ladies and gentlemen, we are working on it. It is a work in progress by all means. But it looks like Javi Sierra now going toe-to-toe with Sean Phillips, as Sean, using the power of that mighty 5-litre, I believe it's a 5-litre in this one as well, absolutely runs away down the straight. But let's head back up, further up though, as indeed Pierce Fox and Maxwell Budd still going at it, ladies and gentlemen. Time is running out though. We're about 6 minutes left of this broadcast. Well, 6 minutes left of this race, sorry. A lot more left on the show tonight.
Yeah, a lot more left. We've got a 40-minute GT3 race with a required pit stop to go here. And Michael Pacheco, the latest TCR car to come into the pits. I think the TCRs have to pit for fuel. I've seen Pacheco, Garov, Laurenti, and Manders all make their way into pit lane with stops of about 6 to 8 seconds, which I think is enough for a little splash of fuel. Oh yeah, change for position. Andrew Garov making his way past Pacheco, getting out of the pits there. Garov's had a nice time of things, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's looking pretty happy about that right now. I have a feeling Pacheco is probably not sharing the same kind of sentiment now, as he's gone and been cleared by about 1.7 seconds, ladies and gentlemen. But certainly, as I say that, I see the camera feeds are starting to light up, ladies and gentlemen. Tommy Polte, it worked earlier and then it disappeared. Sorry, buddy. We'd love to get you on stream. But I do see Michael Clark, Ben Malik, Alex Czar have all joined the cameras as well, ready for the GTD race. It's going to be following after this.
Oh yes, it's going to be a fun time indeed. This race you're looking at the moment is not the only one we're going to be showing tonight. Two separate championships going on here at Podium 1. The GT4 and TCRs first, and the GT3s a bit later on. Well, Amrit Vestrala, with a bit of a compromised run there through Variante Alta. Regardless, he does still seem a little bit faster than Doug Sorrentino overall. There's still plenty to be decided between these two at the front of the field, and they come up on some lap traffic in their own class here. That's Jack Minter that has to let them go. Sorrentino was slightly compromised on the exit of Rivazza, and now we're going to see Vestrala pick up the slipstream again.
Yeah, if ever there's going to be an opportunity, this is probably going to be it, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed, he got a little bit of help there from Jack Minter, and indeed, he's got the draft as he can get brake on the brakes, almost in the whoa, almost under the push cap there of the AMG, and I don't mean the Silky BA engine, ladies and gentlemen. I mean the push cap on the back bumper of that car, and certainly that was probably the best chance he's had. But can Vestrala, he's been applying the pressure, and look at that, the closing speed there. Can he keep it up on the exit? A little bit of a correction there on corner exit. Sorrentino to the outside, leaves the door open, and Vestrala puts it right up there on the inside. Is he going to be able to make it stick? Almost contact, inches apart, ladies and gentlemen, and despite that, Sorrentino able to hold on. Don't ask me how he's done it, but an incredible defensive move there from the driver of the 69.
You could definitely see through Villeneuve that Doug Sorrentino was going for the slow in, fast outline. Amrit Vestrala trying to carry as much speed into the corners as he can to get alongside. No passing opportunity here at Acqua Minerale. Needs to nail the curbs at Variante Alta to stay in touch with Sorrentino through the final sector and maybe make a move into turn 1. My timing is telling me these drivers are going to have 2 laps to go when they cross the line. Tell you what, Vestrala is pushing it hard under brakes.
Yeah, I don't know if that was I don't think he was fully committed to that. I think that was more just trying to give the AMG a little bit of a shake there, just try and get him a bit unaware. Certainly, he gave me a bit of a shake, ladies and gentlemen. I was not expecting him to go for that move, but I gotta say, what an absolutely fantastic race these two drivers had. Sorrentino and Vestrala inseparable from the start. Sorrentino able to get himself up at the start of the race, but indeed further back as well. Maxwell Budd has been nothing but glued to the tail end of that Cayman the entire race. These guys both equally matched.
Yes, lap times once again at the front here. Maxwell Budd, 0.4 of a second faster than Pierce Fox. And again, there's barely any difference between Sorrentino and Vestrala. It looks like Budd is going to be the one who's trying to size up a move on this lap. Oh, that's a bit of oversteer there for Pierce Fox. That will allow Maxwell Budd alongside. And there's finally the change for third in GT4. Budd was putting him under pressure the whole time. And it looks like Pierce Fox finally cracked.
I've got to say, that was an absolutely phenomenal move there, and indeed there is more than one way to get past the opponent, but Pierce Fox already fighting back. We saw this a moment ago. It was an AMG versus a Mustang. On this occasion, it's going to be an AMG versus a Cayman. We're going to see if the Cayman can indeed make it stick there, as it does imply a little bit of pressure, but is it going to be enough? Further up in the field, though, Sorrentino is still able to hold on, and I've got to wonder as well, should these two come together, will Maxwell Budd potentially be on for a race win?
Yeah, there's always potential for that, especially with how aggressive the driver of Amrit Vestrala has been. And I did notice that as well, Zippy Sean Phillips getting a drive-through for incident level. So another driver that has fallen victim to the race control standards for this one. Michael Pacheco trying to take second place in TCR back from Andrew Garov. Going to have the inside for Piratella, but not quite enough to get alongside on the way in. This is going to be a tight battle for second here.
Well, you can see the different kind of emotions here between the two drivers, and say they are both concentrating really hard. You got Pacheco in the orange Audi, Andrew Garov in the Civic. Oh no!
Pierce Fox has gotten a black flag for incident level. That is such a shame for Pierce Fox. He had so much potential for a podium here today.
Well, he definitely did. Indeed, that battle has just cooled down just a little bit, ladies and gentlemen. I got to say, I do feel there for Pierce Fox. He put on a hell of an incredible run there, but Maxwell Budd will indeed get the better of him. And I believe Dustin Warren. No, we're all right. He's about a minute back, ladies and gentlemen. But let's go and return to the lead here, as Vestrala has been nothing short but Well, he's been on him like bread on butter, ladies and gentlemen. He has not let Doc Sorrentino get a break.
Yeah, final lap. This is the last chance for Vestrala to really do something about this. Sean Phillips has gotten another black flag for incident level himself. Pacheco alongside Garov for second in TCR. And who is the last of the late breakers into Tamburello? It looks like it's going to be Andrew Garov to try and keep the position here off Michael. Has to give room on the inside, and this battle's going to continue all the way around the final lap. Pacheco is the winner in the short term, but does he have enough to defend? It is on as well between Doug Sorrentino and Amrit Vestrala. They're coming up to the final sector at the moment. Now, Vestrala has been the more aggressive of the two by far. He has carried more speed into the corners the whole way through. Doug Sorrentino, he's played it a little safer, but he's been more consistent, and that's the reason why he's stayed in the lead there. Vestrala doesn't have a chance to get up the inside into Rivazza. He'll at least try and draw a little bit closer here. Sorrentino, though, nails the exit of the final corner, and that is going to be the win in hand for the number 69. Doug Sorrentino takes victory in GT4. Vestrala pressuring him the whole way. And that's going to be your top two in GT4. Maxwell Budd, a lonely third, battled nicely with Pierce Fox, but unfortunately no company from him in the final laps. And it looks like Andrew Garov has given up in the battle versus Michael Pacheco there. There will be no further change for third in TCR.
Well, certainly the only thing that Garov could hope for is that Pacheco absolutely mullers the final couple of corners. At this point, I'm pretty confident he's going to get it in the bag indeed as well. But certainly Pacheco, he applied a good amount of pressure there. And the TCR drivers, despite the fact we had a reversible positions there, 1, 2, and 3 finished respectfully where they started. Quinn Manders and indeed Scott Laurenti up a position each. Certainly not a lot of hard charging in this race, but certainly some incredible battles throughout the endurance of it.
Absolutely. Great stuff. Looks like Scott Laurenti and Quinn Manders have a couple of things to sort out here. This is for the last running position on track. Laurenti trying his best here to set something up for the last couple of corners, but I think he might be a little bit too far away from Quinn Manders to really take any advantage. You need to be alongside and nail the exit there, and that didn't happen. So Quinn Manders is going to keep it from Scott Laurenti there for fourth in TCR. Very nicely done. Consistent drives from the both of them managed to avoid incident limit black flags. All TCRs in the field end up getting a pit stop for fuel, though. That's the end of it then. And we can go through our results for the GT4 and TCR event here for the Podium 1 Fixed Championships. Doug Sorrentino wins by nearly half a second from Amrit Vestrala. Maxwell Budd completes the GT4 podium. Pierce Fox, Dustin Warren, Tommy Pulte, Jack Minter, and Sean Phillips round out your GT4s. Javi Sierra winning in TCR by a long way from Michael Pacheco and Andrew Garov. Quinn Manders and Scott Laurenti battling towards the end. Drew Martin retiring, it seems, early on from the end of the race. CJ Conklin taking to the start, but obviously pulling back to the pits to do his race control stuff. Well, looks like we have Doug Sorrentino joining us for an interview. So welcome, Doug. Congratulations on victory. Amrit was pressuring you the whole way there.
Yeah, he was really making sure I didn't mess up, and I got close. I got to 6 incidents, and I almost had to serve that drive-through, but I just barely held on.
Yeah, indeed, the incident limits were quite brutal here today. We saw more than a few drivers have to take to the pits for that, but it's really easy to do at a track like this, isn't it? Imola, notoriously easy to get off tracks at, and those curbs are going to throw you off at any given time.
They can, yeah, especially the downhill into the uphill section. You know, you have to follow that true line through there. You know, especially in the GT4 because of the lack of aero. You know, if you go offline, you're done for. And I did that in practice, but not in the race.
Yeah, and good thing too, because that is another race win in hand and a good haul of championship points as well. Amrit Vestrala was leading the championship coming into this one, but incredibly tight gaps at the front of this. That's what our standings were telling us.
Well, I'm glad I won.
Yeah. Yeah, only a single point in the lead. So it looks like this is going to be a tight battle between all of you for the rest of the season.
Yeah, it definitely is. You know, keep an eye out. You know, I want to say that they're going to keep improving because, you know, the first race was a little bit further away and, you know, now they're all, you know, seeing the target. They're trying to pass the target. And, you know, I have a lot of people following up the bits. So I'm going to make sure that I stay tight with all of my practicing so I don't, you know, I give them a good show, give everyone a good show.
Excellent stuff, Doug. Thanks very much for joining us. And hopefully we're chatting to you again next week for round 5.
Yeah, have a fun, make sure to watch Josh in this GT3 race. I heard he's practiced a lot.
All right, we'll keep that in mind for sure. Doug Sorrentino there in the number 69 Mercedes AMG, the winner of our GT4 class. And Zippy, that looks like that's going to be the end of the GT4 and TCR race. We've got the GT3s coming up, and my goodness, it's going to be a fun one.
Oh, absolutely. It's not been short of action in the GTD Pro classes as well, but certainly Imola on the Princess approved track list. But ladies and gentlemen, we are indeed going to take a short break just while we switch the session over. But in the meantime, we got something fresh for you guys to watch, and indeed, I hope you enjoy it. Courtesy of Darwin and indeed CJ, it's the promotional video for this league. It's the Podium 1 Fixed Series Championship, and we're going to be right back here on Pit Road Productions.
Are you ready? Ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome back, everybody, here on Pit Road Productions, part 2 of our show for the Podium 1 Fixed Series Championships. GT4 and TCR went off very nicely. Now we bring the GT3s on track at the Autodromo Enzo e Dino Ferrari in Imola. A lot of gravel being thrown onto the circuit here in qualifying, and there's surely going to be some hard competition for that pole position. Once again, if you're just joining us, it's me, Reese Gardner, with Daniel Zippy Salmon alongside me in the commentary box. And my goodness, Zippy, it's been some good racing at Imola tonight. Now we up the pace. Let's see how hard the GT3s take this track.
Oh, it's just going to be an absolute belter. It's one of the favourite combinations of mine, and certainly with a GT3 car here, the racing's going to be insane. Certainly the GT3, we got the two different classes. We've got the GTD Pro and the GTD. And don't get me wrong, it's not like a clear-cut mix between the two. These guys mix it up, and indeed, I believe the points are done on outright position as well. So certainly a lot to play for. But Reese, I got to say, we're getting calls to keep an eye on a few drivers. Joshua Wilford being one of them, last season's champion. I can definitely believe that. Amrit Mistrala's back. Pierce Fox is back, ladies and gentlemen. But before we get into that, I got to say to the Podium 1 community, I am absolutely blown away right now. This is the biggest amount of driver cams we have ever had. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to try and show you on the stream. I can keep scrolling. All of these are driver cams, ladies and gentlemen. And that's exactly what we want to see. So by all means, it's going to be an even more bigger belter of a show, ladies and gentlemen. And certainly, I'm looking forward to it. But Reese, why don't we try and see if we can get an onboard lap with one of these guys. But before we do that, we should take a look at the points, starting off with GTD Pro.
Absolutely. Chris Krohn at the front of it here with Alex Zart and Max Budd rounding out your top three. Javi Sierra, who's seen a lot of success in the TCR class, not too far ahead of Manuel Sandoval and Pierce Fox, who are equal on 107 points. Last season's champion Joshua Wilford only 9th in this early stage of the season, obviously not being able to make all of the rounds, but we'll see what he can do here as he's back here at Imola. And well, Alex Zart, Chris Krohn, Maxwell Budd, they are going to have another driver to worry about here at Imola. How about the GTD AM standings? Kenneth Narvaez currently on top with Michael Clark and Ben Mielik second and third, only separated by 3 points. It's 4 points separating Wilton Palermo, and Dustin Warren, with Andrew Garov and Zeke Sauter equal on 69 points. 65 points equal for 3 drivers there, Minter, Travis, and Manders. So wherever you look, there's battles to be had.
Yeah, there certainly is. And one thing I can see, Kevin Rosario, don't get me wrong, he's got no points, but certainly, Kevin, I haven't yet seen you this season, and I'd like to see you this season. Certainly one of the more aggressive drivers, made some really ambitious moves. I'd like to see him make a return, ladies and gentlemen, but let's see if we can get one of these onboard laps here as, well, Reese, pick a driver, sir.
Well, I'm going to have to scroll through and see who's about to start one. I think Joshua Wilford is a good candidate here. He's just come out of the final corner. Let's see what the South African can do here. A lap around the Autodromo Enzo e Dino Ferrari. A super fast start-finish straight to start things off here. And you're trying to line it up for turn 1 at Tamburello. Look for the 100 marker on the right-hand side there just before you get on the brakes. You need to try your best to deal with these curbs as best as you can. It looks like a mistake there from Wilford. He's going to have to back things off a little bit. Perhaps we should switch to Chris Krohn, who is on a hot lap here, making his way into Villeneuve and using all of that curb on the exit. One thing you need to keep an eye out for at Imola is the green painted runoff. If it's light green, it's painted concrete. If it's dark green, like at the exit of the hairpin there, that means it's AstroTurf, and it's a lot more slippery than the green painted concrete, so you don't want to use as much of it. Fast left-hander through Pirotella, trying to keep it within the track limits on the exit. Then down to Acqua Minerale, where we saw plenty of spins in the GT4 class earlier, the GT3s are able to handle it nicely. Maximize the exit up the hill, and then it's time for Variante Alta. Look for the 100 marker on the left-hand side. That's your rough braking point. Maybe a little bit later, pushing hard and using all of the curb that you can. Be careful not to run all the way out across the curb at the exit, otherwise you will get an off track and potentially a slowdown. Then another flat-out section down to Rivazza. This is the final couple of proper corners here. It's very easy to miss the apex there with the downhill run into the corner, but you get a smooth exit out and you will nail the run back onto the start-finish straight. That's a lap of Imola. It's certainly an iconic layout, one that's been through a lot of changes and a little bit of tragedy as well. This is indeed the circuit where Ayrton Senna and Roland Ratzenberger lost their lives that fateful F1 weekend in 1994, which is the main reason we have all of these chicanes around the circuit today.
Yeah, if I remember rightly, it was something to do with the steering coupling as well. I believe it was a welded linkage or something like that. By all means, do not quote me, but I have got to say, we have got a dead heat right now. For a second, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to put the timing up just so you can see this. Here's Fox and indeed Chris Krohn, 0.003 of a second between them.
That's the kind of gap that we love to see there. That is incredibly close. And I think a little bit of slipstream is going to be all the difference there. Alex Zart out in front by a long way at the moment. He's over half a second faster than anyone in that number 70 Lamborghini. Let's see if he can maintain that. Joshua Wilford, I'm still looking for him to actually set a lap time here. It seems that he's gotten off tracks on every lap so far as the reigning champion. He'll be hoping that he can join Zart at the top of the grid.
Yeah, he's going to need to put a clean lap and put one in quickly, ladies and gentlemen. That's Chris Krohn right behind him as well, who's currently there in P3. Greg Boyce, I remember him being potent in that Ferrari, but indeed, he's managed to make himself even more potent. Ladies and gentlemen, he's up there in P4. But I do want to give a shout out. Look who it is, ladies and gentlemen. Kevin Rosario not only makes a return, but indeed, we could barely see him here. He's pretty much camouflaged. Certainly, if he was stood in a pack of zebras, it would be the best sounding zebra, and indeed the one I would most want to ride in, ladies and gentlemen. I'll rephrase that. That sounded kind of twisted.
Yeah, please.
Right on. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go with that. Certainly anybody at home will get a kick out of that. What is it with me and Imola? There seems to always be something goes slightly sideways. There's indeed Kevin Rosario and Maxwell Budd separated by not even a tenth of a second, ladies and gentlemen. And even closer there, Manuel Sandoval puts a lap in as well. That is 100th quicker than Maxwell Budd.
Very close times for everyone at the front of the field. Not to mention pole position. Wilford's finally set a lap time, and it's only 2,000 slower than Zart's time. So we've got serious competition in qualifying, haven't we, Zippy?
Oh my gosh, it's intense. I'm looking here at Manuel Sandoval, 41.86. If I go further down, Max Budd, 41.87. Ben Mellick and Mike Rose, both 41.89 and 41.99. The competition is so incredibly tight, and you know what's even better is it is an absolutely eclectic mix of cars as well. I think I can see almost everything. I'm not seeing an Audi, but I do indeed have an Aston Martin. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm a happy camper at this point. We've even got McLaren as well.
That we have. We've got a Lamborghini on pole position, shadowed closely by a Mustang. We've got Pierce Fox in the BMW, Chris Krohn and Kevin Rosario in the Mercedes, Manuel Sandoval in the Porsche, same for Maxwell Budd, Ben Mellick also in a Mercedes. We have Mike Rose in a Mustang, and rounding out the top 10, it's going to be Greg Boyce in... Oh my God, look at that there from Joshua Travis. Incredible pace today. He gets to the pole position in the AM class and third overall.
Absolutely incredible stuff. Alex Zart able to make an improvement as well. He's pushed it into the 140.76. Ladies and gentlemen, that's given him about 0.3 of a second over Wilford. But fair play, Joshua Travis, 893 iRating. And he's competing with Sony literally 5 times his skill rating. Ladies and gentlemen, that is absolutely insane. I have a feeling he maybe doesn't care for officials much and just races what he wants, how he wants, because that is diabolically fast from the 68.
Yeah, that's crazy. The BMW, known for being a safe, if not particularly exciting car to drive, but if you know how to handle it, then you can get some great pace out of it. That might have been a little bit too much curb there, and I don't think that lap is ultimately going to count. Keeping an eye on Mike Rose in the Mustang here. 7th in Pro and 10th overall. Got the McLaren trailing him. Speaking of car choices, we've got one Acura in the field as well, in the hands of Matt Jones, currently sitting down in 22nd place. So it looks like no matter what your preference for machinery, you've got a place to go.
Well, I gotta admit, I think Mike Rose is honestly just flaunting the fact that he's got that gorgeous beard, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly we were roasting him before we went live with the GT3s, as we see there earlier, just giving it the, what I call the wisdom stroke, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly you just go and run your hands through any facial hair that you have. Myself, a little bit short on that department lately. I shaved much to my girlfriend's pleasure, ladies and gentlemen. But indeed, he's in a category that I can't even compete in. But meanwhile, though, Pierce Fox also in a BMW, getting a good bit of slipstream there, is doing pretty well. But it looks like Michael Belair, he's managed to move his way up as well. He went pink in Sector 1, and indeed, he's currently in P5 for the GTD class.
Yes, Michael Belair just outside the top 10. He needs to make up about 0.07 of a second if he wants to advance one single position. That's how close the lap times are at the moment. Alex Zart has made an improvement for pole position. He's now sits on a 1 minute 40.7. Wilford still on a 1:41.0, but you separate 3rd and 10th, and it's only a matter of about 0.5 of a second. The lap times are incredibly close here in qualifying, and I'm sure they'll be just as close in the race. We've got a pit stop that the drivers will have to do in the race as well. So I think pit strategy is going to be the main way drivers make up positions with how close they all are on pace.
Well, I've got a feeling things are starting to get spicy qualifying there. Wilford got an excellent run there, and that is indeed one of the cars ahead of him. Is that going to compromise his run? He was pink in 2 sectors, and I believe that might have been enough. I'm going to have to check who it is. And he's gone board it to the box, ladies and gentlemen. Chris Krohn there, definitely not making it any easier for him, but is Krohn going to improve as well? Indeed, it looked clean, ladies and gentlemen, but certainly as he goes across the line, did not improve, ladies and gentlemen. Both of them, their best lap being their last lap.
Yep, that's going to be laps done for just about everybody. Checkered flag has officially flown, and final lap times coming in here for Manuel Sandoval. Green in the second last sector, but nothing doing as Belair improves to P5 and takes M-Class pole away from Joshua Travis.
Yeah, that was a hell of a jump. It looks like Kerry Corcoran just snuck one in as well. He's moved himself up into P12 and indeed P8 in class, ladies and gentlemen, in that Porsche. Greg Boyce as well at the end. Quinn Magnus just got mullet. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Some people, it's a mixed deal. Certainly, myself, I enjoy a little bit of shenanigans after a checkered flag, but certainly it's not favored among everybody. It's not up to me to decide that. But this is another driver who was aboard the lap, ladies and gentlemen, Michael Clark. Keep an eye on him. While he is not the fastest driver on pace, his racecraft is something to be reckoned with. Keep an eye on that Lamborghini, ladies and gentlemen. Although it's going to be starting P22 overall, I have a feeling it may be finishing a little bit higher up.
Yeah, you can always count on Michael Clark to make up positions in the race, despite where he usually starts. With that, it looks like everyone has completed the session, and we've only got 20 seconds remaining on overtime before we flick over to the 40-minute race to come. A fixed setup for this series, of course. The only thing drivers can change is the brake bias when they're in the car. So that's going to be the main thing drivers will be adjusting over the course of the racing here today. I only recently just unlocked the secret of brake bias in my GT3 racing. I could never quite get on the pace, but once I started running the brakes a bit further rearward, I realized, hang on a minute, I guess this is what everyone else is doing. Alex Zart certainly did. He's going to be starting on pole with Joshua Wilford alongside him. Pierce Fox and Chris Krohn, your top 4. Michael Belair in the AM class last pole with Joshua Travis starting alongside him. Maxwell Budd, it was a podium for him in the GT4s earlier. He starts 7th alongside Kevin Rosario, and then our top 10 zippy rounded out by Manuel Sandoval and Ben Milik.
Having a look there at P11, we're going to have Greg Boyce alongside Mr. Mike Rose, the bearded man himself. Kerry Corcoran takes 13th with Wilton Palermo in 14th. Amrit Bashar is going to be there in 15th with Michael Pacheco alongside in 16th with Javi Sierra. Actually, a little bit further back than I expect to see him. He's there in 17th with Jay Williams in 18th. Rounding out your top 20, though, is Kenneth Neves. Boy, would correct me on that one, Reese, in 19th with Jack Minter. I said he was quick in a GT3, ladies and gentlemen. Rounding out your top 20.
Narvaez is how I would pronounce that. Tommy Polte starts alongside 21st there with Michael Clark, with Quinn Manders and Chris Brassetti rounding out our top 24 cars. Then we have the sole Acura in the field of Matt Jones starting alongside Dustin Warren on row number 13. Andrew Garov, Sean Phillips, Sean O'Brien and CJ Conklin round out our field. And CJ is not taking it to the grid. He is in race control. So we will have 29 cars taking to the start today. O'Brien, the only one not to set a time in qualifying. His pace is a bit of a mystery. What isn't a mystery is it's likely going to be Alex Zart versus Joshua Wilford for the win.
Well, here you go. Here's a live feed there from Race Control, ladies and gentlemen. It's fair to say he's in there for the long haul. Certainly, we were doing a couple of improvements earlier on. Well, yesterday even. I do hope they're going to work on this one. If not, we're going to work on it to make sure we get it for you for next week, ladies and gentlemen. But let me give a huge shout out to this man. Certainly, Race Control, definitely not the most popular person to be, but indeed, the racing as a result has been nothing short of phenomenal. But it's going to be Alex Zart who starts us off, and what an absolutely fantastic grid of GT3 cars. We are indeed spoiled, and it looks like the fog's starting to give us a little bit of a break as well here. I do have to wonder if we take a look at the track temp, if it has indeed warmed up a bit. No, it's still 19 degrees, ladies and gentlemen, just a little bit less cloudy.
Yes, it is now afternoon in Sim. It was morning about 8 p.m. for the TCR and GT4 race. Now it's 3:37 p.m. in Sim time for the GT3s. But yeah, interesting to see that the track temperature hasn't changed all that much. I suppose it comes with the territory. In Sim date January 12th, which is well in the depths of winter here in Europe. So not much surprise to see that the track temp is stone cold. The GT3s do warm up their tyres a little bit quicker than the GT4s and TCRs, but you still need to make sure you have some temperature in them by the time you get to the green flag. That's why you see the drivers accelerating and braking hard and weaving. They're trying to get any temperature they can into the tyres so that the warm-up phase is as short as possible.
Yeah, certainly fair play to him. Myself, never been a big fan of weaving tyres. It's not something I feel I can do consistently, ladies and gentlemen. So certainly I would just rather go and adapt to how the car comes. But don't get me wrong, these guys are a lot quicker. And I think Alex up there is getting ready to go. The field's spreading out quite a bit, ladies and gentlemen. That's really going to accordion at this point. We got to hope they can get back together. And yep, Alex has absolutely sent it, ladies and gentlemen. And I can't say that I blame him. And the way he goes, and already Piers Fox now looking to try and make a move as they make their way down towards turn one. Chris Crone tucking him right behind. And already we've seen a couple of positions moving here at Imola.
Yeah, Alex Zart maybe hesitate a little bit. Big move up the inside there from Chris Crone. He's going to get Wilford and Fox. My goodness gracious me. That's ridiculous. Alex Zart's going to get away with them. Oh, Wilford and Crone come together, and Chris has been sent into the wall right in front of the rest of the field as they come up on him. An incredible qualifying performance from Chris Crone comes to naught there. Contact with the reigning champion. Alex Zart is going to drive away from the rest of the field here. Wilford's trying desperately to hold on to every position he can. Joshua Travis somehow finds himself in second.
I don't know what kind of magic just occurred, ladies and gentlemen, but indeed Wilford now just goes, thank you very much, I'll take that back, and pretty much puts his foot, not just his little step, he puts his foot firmly on the podium. Maxwell Budd, though, he's up 2 positions as well in that Porsche. Ladies and gentlemen, what an absolutely incredible start. I can already see multiple drivers up 4 position. Mike Rose as well, he's made up 4, as that goes to Ferrari there. Greg Boyd. Oh dear.
Yeah. Greg Boyce is going to have to wait for the whole field to go by before he can get going again, and evidently there's some damage to his car as well. Oh, he can barely turn it. Oh, looks like that might have to be a tow back to the pits there for Greg Boyce. That's a real shame. One of the cleanest looking liveries on the grid. I always love a red livery with white racing stripes, but unfortunately, red ones do not necessarily go faster here. Matt Jones in the Acura also with a problem here at Variante Alta. Had a Mercedes behind him there, and was there contact? No, there wasn't. He just caught the curb in the wrong way.
Yeah, definitely easily done, and it looks like he got away with that for the most part. Maybe a little bit of damage on that left rear corner, but certainly a little bit of a spicy start, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed, let's see if I can get a replay here of Chris Krone's first couple of corners.
Yeah, it was a monumental start from Chris Krone as Matt Jones brings it into the pits. Looks like he's crabbing, actually. There's a bit of a problem there for him. But Chris Krone getting off to a great start here. He picked up the slipstream off Joshua Travis, then off Josh Wilford, and made a huge dive at turn one. He managed to slow it up in time and was ahead, but then a poor run through the second part of Tamburello saw Wilford get back alongside him. Unfortunately, well, I mean, honestly, I can't really blame Wilford there. His only other option was to go off the track into the grass. I think he still had a right to be alongside Chris Krone. Maybe Chris not aware that Wilford was still well alongside him there.
Yeah, definitely. It did seem a little bit unfortunate by all means. I don't think it was a move of aggression or anything like that. But meanwhile, Alex Zart has indeed managed to pull away in that Lamborghini. Maxwell Butt there still applying pressure. Indeed, Michael Belair doing incredibly well as well. I do have to wonder if that is the same person I'm thinking of. I am going to double check, but ladies and gentlemen, if it is who I think it is, this is Darwin's son, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly, we've got to look forward to his real-life racing career very shortly.
Indeed. We'll see how much of a fresh prince he is here as he tries to keep Maxwell Budd behind him in the Porsche. That's a really good exit from Maxwell Budd. If there's going to be a move, it will be done at Tamburello. Alex Zart setting the pace at a 141.8 at the front of this field as there's a big squeeze to the inside there. Maxwell Budd does not have the opportunity to get past Belair, but it's all quite a long race ahead of us here. Still 36 minutes remaining plus a pit stop, so there's plenty of opportunity.
Well, Maxwell Budd certainly looking to apply a good amount of pressure there. This is one of the closest battles on screen. As I say that, though, it looks like Mike Rose is getting into the action as well. Manuel Sandoval just ahead.
Looks like Bud has made his way past Belair there. I think that bit of gravel thrown up into the air is a clue as to how that move was made. Mike Rose trying his best to get the exit out of Tosa, the hairpin, and it looks like he's far enough ahead of Kerry Corcoran that he can be safe for the next few corners. But Corcoran, one of many drivers who's on a charge at the moment, a group of cars that are up 2, 3, 4 positions each. Oh no, look at the timing screen. I've just seen Joshua Wilford's gotten the black flag. That's going to be incident level drive-through, apparently, for Joshua Wilford. How has he exceeded the incident limit already?
I have a feeling the incident limit's actually set quite low, but he would have got a 4x from that collision at the start, and by all means, we'll have to check in with CJ, or unless you can see it on your side, Reese, exactly what's going on. Let the viewers know. But Kerry Corcoran there, almost a little bit of flashbang action going on, bless him, but you can see there, he does indeed have a beautiful motion rig, and he's enjoying it, ladies and gentlemen, as he's at the back of this 4-5 car pack.
Yeah, Kerry Corcoran always a factor in these races as Wilford takes his penalty drive-through for the reigning champion. And I do remember seeing in the TCR and GT4 race, CJ posted a message that 7 incidents was a warning and 8 was a drive-through. That is a brutally low incident limit, but I understand the need for an incredibly tight set of incident limits with how aggressive drivers can be. Sometimes you just need to rein them in. Unfortunately, I think Wilford just got unlucky with his contact there on the first lap. But Ben Malik here, third in the pro class, is under a lot of pressure from Manuel Sandoval.
I gotta be honest, if anybody's ever played Time Crisis 2, you get like the red thing that comes at you and instinctively duck. I just saw Manuel's Porsche get closer and instinctively flinch, thinking it was going to hit me, ladies and gentlemen. That's just how close he was, as Ben Malik there is very much working the wheel and indeed trying to get away. He's currently P3 in the GTD class. As I say that, Manuel Sandoval has also picked up a black flag. Ladies and gentlemen, the stewards are absolutely on it today. There will be no sacrifice without victory.
No, certainly. That's a real shame. But once again, falling victim to the very low incident limit that we've got here today. I think, if the likes of Wilford and Sandoval are going to be getting black flags this early on, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of black flags being handed out. These drivers are pushing as hard as they can at a track where it's very easy to get incidents.
Yeah, definitely. You can very much pick up an off-track there. That looks like Pierce Fox just went and picked one up as well. I have to keep an eye and see if he picks up a black flag, but certainly an aggressive threshold there, as right now Wilton Palermo is going to be finding Amrit Pastrana trying to make a move. Palermo's going to be there on the inside, but for how long as Pastrana, almost neck and neck there, gets in the lead, and Palermo's got no choice. He's going to have to tuck in behind him.
Yep, Vestrala on the move, up 5 positions from where he started now. And Wilton Palermo's going to try his best to hold on behind him. Got Kevin Rosario not too far back. Rosario trying to make up spots after losing 4 places in the opening laps here.
Yeah, definitely going to be very, very interesting indeed, ladies and gentlemen. You can see there on the standings, definitely some different class battles going on. We are going to get you the overall position very, very shortly. But indeed, a huge pack of cars there. But Sean O'Brien looks like he's having some fun here. And he's got the one and only Mr. Quinn Manders right ahead of him in the only McLaren in the grid.
Yep, Manders just outside the top 10 of the Pro class here. Of the AM class, my apologies, getting my classes confused, but it's looking like a nice fight here between Manders and Sean O'Brien. At the moment, O'Brien looks to be the faster of the two, took 0.3 of a second out of Manders on the last lap. The Porsche looking pacey. What can the McLaren do to keep him behind? It's corners like this where you really see a lot of time being made up, and it looks like O'Brien getting a great run out of Acqua Minerale. The straight to Variante Alta, not long enough to take full advantage, but maybe he can get it done at Rivazza.
Yeah, he's definitely applying the pressure. And indeed, the Porsche known to be quite potent under the brakes. Indeed, I don't know how close I'd want to get to the back of that McLaren. While it sounds phenomenal and it shoots flames, don't get me wrong, damage here will cost you in the long run, ladies and gentlemen. Don't get me wrong, these guys are pretty much in their own race, but certainly having fun in the meantime there, as Sean O'Brien's going to really want to make sure he gets a good exit and try and stay under the rear wing of the numbers 25.
Battles going on all the way through the field. Everyone from 3rd down to 17th is somehow a second or less separated from the next car. Kerry Corcoran and Pierce Fox then fighting over 8th position overall. And Corcoran slightly defensive into Tosa. Fox able to carry a bit more momentum at the apex, but it appears the Porsche, with its superior traction, is able to stay ahead. It's another aspect of the balance of performance in GT3. All cars can run the same pace, but they make their pace in slightly different ways. Porsche, with the engine slung over the rear axle, has so much traction on the exit.
It really does, and certainly the AMG, I think the engine's actually set really, really far back as well, but it looks like Michael Belair there is currently holding on to the back there of Maxwell Butt. Indeed, very different lines going through that chicane. Indeed, Ben Mellick, though, has a whole pack of cars behind him. He's going to have to keep an eye on his mirror if he wants to indeed hold on to P5 overall.
Yeah, he's starting to come under a lot of pressure here as Ben Mellick. Manuel Sandoval, it would appear, has gotten his black flag cleared. He hasn't really jumped into the pits there. So looks like Mike Rose is going to be putting some pressure on him now. 3-car fight for this top 5 position. 10 minutes complete in this race, by the way. We aren't far away from drivers deciding it's time to come into the pits, as Vestrala has made up another position further behind. He's just worked his way past Kerry Corcoran. But Corcoran's fighting back there. We just saw a flash there in the background. Corcoran repassing Vestrala at Tamburello, and now Amrit sees a chance to switch back underneath him. Can he make the move at Villeneuve? He was really aggressive in the Mustang in the GT4s here at this point of the circuit, was Vestrala, but Corcoran keeps him behind again.
Yeah, if anybody's going to let you go past for free, Kerry Corcoran is not that man, ladies and gentlemen. While he is a seasoned gentleman, he is, it's almost like when you get the person that says, get off my lawn. Indeed, it's get off my line, ladies and gentlemen. And Kerry Corcoran in the number 28. His racecraft is indeed incredible. Certainly one who I would compare to himself and Michael Clark. Michael Clark actually only up 5 positions. I say only. The hard charger on the grid right now, I see Sean O'Brien's up 6. him taking actually the hard charger award right now.
Yeah, excellent job thus far. And, well, we'll see if there's any further positions to be made for Joshua Wilford as well. He's just worked his way past Chris Brissetti here. Brissetti with 5 positions gained as well. Wilford on the recovery after having to drive through the pits. Michael Clark, meanwhile, well, you did say, Zippy, that he was one of the drivers to look for to make up places, and he is, once again, one of a whole host of drivers who's made up 5 positions.
Yeah, in the braking there as well, he absolutely closed on that McLaren. You just got to wonder, though, is it that the fact that these guys are all getting a drop, if that's what's going to be holding him back, or indeed, is he going to be able to capitalize on this? Certainly, you get a couple of cars together going down this front straightaway, you can indeed start to see some huge battles making their way into turn 1. We saw 3 wide at the start, absolutely bonkers, ladies and gentlemen, but brilliant entertainment. Certainly my favorite start as Wilford has just hit the fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, that's a 141.2, and that is a mere few hundredths faster than what Alex Zart was able to manage.
Oh,
Pierce Fox is falling down the order. He's found the wall out of Tamburello.
Whoa, that was scary.
Yeah, he had just enough time to get over to the other side of the track. Tried to make a pass on... I believe that's, I'm not too
Mike
sure who
Rose.
that was that he was trying to make his way. Yeah, Mike Rose, okay. But then a loss of traction there. Just a little bit of time spent in the grass is enough to make those tyres a bit leery.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of a shame there for Pierce Fox, as indeed he is now in the pit lane, ladies and gentlemen. But it looks like Ben Mellick is still getting into a battle here. Manuel Sandoval has not been able to find his way by yet, but don't get me wrong, he's now side by side. No, not quite, ladies and gentlemen. Mellick still able to hold on. He is making that AMG incredibly wide as he pretty much bunny hops over the curb.
Yep, good job from Ben Mellick. Nice line through Variante Alta. He's managed to increase the gap somewhat. This battle for 5th is by no means over, though. All it takes is a pit stop nailed from any of these guys, and it's going to be a change for position. No sign of anyone coming into the pits for regular service yet, though. We're still a few minutes away from that happening. I've noted that drivers tend to make that first stint last as long as they can in this series. Vestrala on Corcoran again. Little bump draft down the start-finish straight here. And Corcoran protects the inside, really the only thing he can do versus Vestrala at the moment. But that's a lovely line for Amrit. And he tries his best to sneak up the inside. Contact. Corcoran's been sent off. And I think Race Control's going to be looking at that for sure. Heavy damage to the back end of the Porsche, which is inconvenient because that's where the engine is.
Yeah, and oh dear, ladies and gentlemen, unless Kerry Corcoran has just started smoking, his Porsche does indeed have a loss of coolant occurring, and indeed he's going to tow back to pit lane.
Ah, that's a shame. All it took was a tiny bit of contact there out of Tamburello. Corcoran will be very disappointed with how that's gone down. Maybe he would have thought that Vestrala would stay behind and try at another corner, but sometimes that's just how it goes here. GT3 racing so close that you have to be aggressive, and sometimes another driver comes off much worse. Vestrala still running in 8th overall, but he has lost time to this pursuing pack that includes Rosario, Palermo, Javi Sierra, Williams, Minter, and Michael Pacheco in 15th. This is a very tight fight indeed.
It very much is, and indeed, look who's just behind him. Joshua Wilford getting in on the action as well. I have a feeling he could indeed try to make his way past this pack. Amrit Vestrala and indeed Kevin Rosario, I think, will be his biggest challenges. Certainly, Rosario, definitely not a... He's got a similar mindset as Kerry Corcoran. He will not give a position for free, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly, he fights for everything he's got as Jay Williams brings it down pit road.
Indeed. Williams, the first of our drivers to make his way in for a scheduled pit stop. They do have to take a splash of fuel to get to the end of this one. No tyres required, though. The GT3s have tyres that last an hour or more at maximum pace. Well, I'll check in briefly with Tommy Polte here, who, I mean, is all on his own at the moment, and hasn't quite been able to set the pace of those ahead of him, but still up 3 positions. It's been an interesting night for Tommy so far. Had a couple of issues in the GT4 race earlier, but holds on nicely in his Corvette and the GT3s. Brissetti and Narvaez, meanwhile. Brissetti, one of the biggest gainers in this field, not quite as much as Jack Minter and Sean O'Brien, but still making up some good time here. Kenneth Narvaez potentially with some problems there. Hasn't made his way up as far as others.
Yeah, and certainly we're getting a little bit of a debate going on here in the chat, Reece. Certainly, we got a good job, Josh, there. That's from Sota 224. And Jake Hens there with red might not be fast for Kramax horsepower, but then we got Subdog 13579, definitely a little bit more on the controversial side, and getting a little bit spicy with the opinions. By all means, it's an opinion, ladies and gentlemen. Thinks it's a easy little limit is a bit too slow, could potentially ruin the race. Well, we got a counterback for that, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed, Matt Couch straight in there says it keeps the idiots in check, or should you be out of the race if you wreck the car bad enough that you can't fix it, as simulation should be. Certainly, I'm inclined to agree with you on that one, Matt. I think you've got a very valid point, and indeed, that you can race fast, race aggressively, and still keep the car in check. But certainly, it's getting interesting here as Michael Pacheco brings it down pit lane as well.
Yeah, it looks like that's a scheduled stop as well, as Kenneth Narvaez now is under pressure from Chris Brissetti, but the Mercedes is much later on the brakes, runs wide through the first part of Tamburello, and positions himself perfectly to stay ahead of Brissetti.
Yeah, you see that is hard racing but clean racing, gentlemen. That is indeed absolutely perfect. You don't get me wrong, Brissetti could have gone and forced it a little bit more if you wanted to, but he did the wise thing and backed out of it, ladies and gentlemen. It wasn't a dishonest move by Kenneth, it was just hard racing, ladies and gentlemen. And indeed, look now, it's only a corner back after, and already he's looking to fight back as he gets a brilliant exit and almost goes side by side with the driver of the number 16.
Yeah, Tosa is one of the most important corners on this circuit, one of the slowest that we encounter, and well, it looks like Brissetti's having a bit more trouble with the faster corners than Narvaez is, as they find their way to the middle of the circuit here. Uphill acceleration out of Aqua Minerale. Kenneth Narvaez is certainly pushing hard, isn't he?
He certainly is. Meanwhile, Jack Minter has been passed there by Joshua Wilford, and indeed, Michael Clark not able to hold him off either. Indeed, I've got no doubt that man would have put up a fight. But looking further ahead, though, Javi Sierra, he had great success in the TCRs, and right now he's in that BMW for Aerokinetics. We've seen that name before on the car of Kalman Gori. That's a long time ago, Reece. Indeed, a very long time ago. Certainly, Javi Sierra doing a even better job of representing that team, the Puerto Rican driver himself, as it looks like Wilford there ducking back into the slipstream. Hasn't got enough power to do it on legs alone.
Well, let's see how the brakes go. Javi Sierra actually letting Wilford go there in the braking zone. Obviously has his head in the right place here. Knows that Wilford is on a recovery and has front-running pace, so there's probably not much point in fighting him too hard at this middle stage of the race. Still got pit stop strategy to work out here. Manuel Sandoval, the next driver to come into the lane for scheduled service. Narvaez is in there as well, and it appears Dustin Warren too. But Narvaez has been in there for a lot longer than everyone else. 22 seconds that Kenneth Narvaez has spent in pit lane. You compare that to the quicker pit stops for Sandoval, for example, only 11.5 seconds.
That sounds like somebody left tires, Jack. Just going off the time, that's the kind of vibe I'm getting. But right now, Sean O'Brien, still the hard charger in the grid, ladies and gentlemen. He's up 12 positions, but one of the drivers who's yet to make a pit stop as well. On pit stops alone, the quickest one we've seen so far is indeed Manuel Sandoval, indeed the first driver who's actually pit scheduled, ladies and gentlemen. But Joshua Wilford, you got to wonder exactly why he had to do a drive-through penalty and why Manuel Sandoval was able to get his cleared. Meanwhile, though, Michael Clark applying all sorts of pressure to the back of the 325.
Yes, indeed. Clark falling back slightly from Jack Minter, but Wilton Palermo is the one under the most pressure at the moment. He's trying to stay in touch with Javi Sierra, but his fellow Porsche is a bit of a spanner in the works there. 19 minutes now on the clock, and we still have the majority of our field yet to come into pit lane. Joshua Wilford taking the fastest lap back again, down to a 141.240. There's some great pace there there in the number 1, but I think he still owes us a pit stop for fuel. So I don't think Wilford is going to finish in the top 5 at the very least.
Yeah, I think he's going to have to maybe find a 4-leaf clover or indeed a lottery ticket scenario there as he makes his way around Kevin Rosario. A fair play to him. He's going to get it done on the outside, able to find levels of grip that I just can't find. Indeed, Rosario.
Nice.
I'd say quite cooperative here, but definitely not. He's still keeping his foot in it and indeed trying to apply pressure there as he goes to the left-hander. Not quite able to get the run done, but certainly didn't make his life easy for the driver of the Ford Mustang.
No, definitely not, but a good show of Joshua Wilford's skill there as he was able to maintain pace around the outside of the hairpin. Meanwhile, Kenneth Narvaez apparently with an issue at Variante Alta. He wasn't quite able to nail the line and lost traction on the exit. Problem with the GT3s and their driver aids is, I mean, they have traction control and it can help you on the exit of a lot of corners, but if it kicks in at the wrong time, then it only exacerbates the slide that you're in. And so, unfortunately for Narvaez, he has lost yet more time.
I have a really strong feeling that he did indeed take tyres in the pit stop, and then that being a result of cold tyres.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that's exactly what happened. Certainly, good idea to program a hotkey to indeed turn up tyres, as that is incredibly close there for Michael Belair. Oh, I could almost feel that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a clue as to what his brake bias level is. He's running that thing all the way to the rear to shorten the braking zones and get rotation into the corners. Haven't seen someone slide through Tamburello like that in many a year. Javi Sierra, the next driver to come into the pits, the 979, with only a 10.5-second stop. That's the quickest that we've seen so far, and that'll certainly help him in his on-track battles. But let's see what Maxwell Budd can do to keep Michael Belair behind. Budd making up more positions than Belair was able to do, but evidently the Mercedes has a bit more pace on hand.
Yeah, certainly some interesting battles going on indeed. Indeed, this gentleman as well. He's been going at it with Ben Mellick for the majority of the race, ladies and gentlemen. Mike Rose up 6, Ben Mellick up 5. And indeed, these two drivers, both in the black and white coloured liveries here, are very much duking it out. And indeed, they are going to have to start thinking about pits. On paper, Mike Rose should have this slam dunk. But indeed, Ben Mellick not one to give up a position easily either.
Mellick was taking the natural line on the way into that chicane there, and Rose was trying his best to move around in the mirrors and psych Ben out. But one thing I've learned from Ben Mellick is that it's very hard to shake him. Maxwell Budd, the first of our front runners to make his way into the pits here. So his fight with Belair is done for the moment. Let's see what kind of pit stop time we can expect here from the 008 Porsche, whose race pace has been looking pretty good. Right over the start-finish line there is his pit bay, with Wilson Palermo, the next driver, to jump in.
Well, one thing I do want to bring attention to as well, ladies and gentlemen, Joshua Travis now posting a 141.11. I hate to break it to you, but that's quicker than Wilford as well. Despite the fact he's a GTD class, despite the fact he has an 893 I rating, he is redefining pretty much the laws of physics at this point, ladies and gentlemen, and indeed doing it in that BMW to astounding pace.
Yeah, incredible pace from Joshua Travis at the moment. Fuel level is as low as it can be. Alex Zart, our leader, encountering some traffic here, but he has quite the advantage over Joshua Travis, about 3 seconds or so. I'm not too sure how long he's going to be able to hold on to that, though, with the pace that Travis has recently gotten. Surely we're getting a pit stop here from the front runners now, with 15 minutes remaining in the race.
Well, certainly with this amount of traffic, I would 100% want to bring it down pit road as quickly as possible, hoping that I would avoid getting held up by them potentially. You can see there, as I say that is what Ferrari saw earlier with Greg Boyce. Now, he is down 14 positions, and other than Pierce Fox and Kerry Corcoran, it would be probably the hardest faller there, and that's exactly what Alex Zart's done. He's bringing it down pit road, and yeah, a little bit of refreshment, ladies and gentlemen. Fair play to the guy, but we're going to have to see how quickly he gets out of it, and not only that, how much traffic he's going to encounter on his pit exit.
Yeah, I think this is a well-timed stop for Alex Zart. He was just coming up on the lap traffic on that in-lap. So then look at that. The track is practically empty around him. Let's see what more can be done here. Zart's pit stop is about 13.5 seconds there. That's about the same as Maxwell Budd was able to manage, but it's not the quickest stop we've seen so far. That honor still falls to Javi Sierra with that 10.5 second stop he did earlier. A whole host of cars coming in behind Zart as he exits pit lane. Wilford, Rosario, Vestrala, Clark, and Pulte making their way in.
We're going to have to see how this works out for Wilford. Certainly, he's been on a charge and indeed gets the better of Amrit Vestrala. That's definitely going to be good news for him because I've very much seen these guys bounce before, and certainly Vestrala is not afraid to mix it up indeed, ladies and gentlemen. As Rosario a little bit further back, ladies and gentlemen, actually, he's still in the pits. He's taking a little bit of time now.
Whoa! Michael Clark and Kevin Rosario. That was contact on pit exit. They were side by side. It's a very narrow exit lane here at Imola. Michael Clark has lost his rear wing. Oh, he was on for such a good finish, but he's going to have to come back in for repairs, I think, if that car is too unstable with no aerodynamic device on the rear. Look at that. Oh, that's such a shame there. Rosario squeezed into the wall there on exit. There really wasn't much he could do. He and Michael Clark fighting over who was going to exit pit lane first. Sometimes that's just the way it goes.
Yeah, I gotta be honest, in defense of Rosario there, I do think Clark could have maybe left a little bit more room. But on the flip side, what's the odds that you're going to expect to find somebody side by side with you at pit lane? And indeed, he's going to have a hell of a challenge now getting this Lamborghini down pit road. I'd strongly suggest he just take the repairs. However, he doesn't have a meatball flag, so realistically, the return on investment for those repairs could be pretty catastrophic. As our race leader right now, Michael Belair, I say that very briefly, as Joshua Travis is already out and away. Ladies and gentlemen, this GTD driver is absolutely sending it, but where's he going to be in relation to Alex Zart? Zart now coming down the start-finish straight, and Travis making his way out of pit exit. Is it going to be enough as they make their way down towards turn one? Are we going to fight for the lead?
Yes, this is exactly what we were looking for. Joshua Travis with incredible pace today, and Alex Zart is now under pressure as the pit cycle is complete. Kevin Rosario has been given a drive-through penalty for causing a collision in pit lane. So race control deeming Kevin Rosario to blame for that incident between himself and Michael Clark. But the fight will still be on for that lead. Maxwell Budd, meanwhile, has managed to overtake Michael Belair for third, as they had really even pit stop times, but evidently Belair having a poorer run on the in-lap and out-lap. Let's see what Joshua Travis can do here, because Zart now has the pressure on, and sometimes under pressure where diamonds are made.
It certainly is. Indeed, it takes time as well, Reese, and he hasn't got much of it left. He's got about 11 minutes to do it, and indeed, he's got to make sure he stays in that draft. Lap traffic ahead. Zart not able to quite manage to get every stone in his favor. But right now, let's try and work out who it is. As, oh my word, Jack Mintz is still going at it here with Wilton Palermo. Chris Krohn, not that much further ahead. He's going at it with Michael Pacheco. We have a four-way fight here, back for P13 overall.
Yes, excellent battle that we're seeing at the moment, and Wilton Palermo is the only non-pro class car in this fight. Pacheco not getting as good of a run out of Aqua Minerale. This could be Chris Krohn's chance to make up another spot, and a brilliant move under brakes at Variante Alta. Chris Krohn making a nice recovery from his lap one incident with Joshua Wilford. Honestly, it could have been way worse for Chris Krohn. I expected him to be down and out, but he is stuck with it, and he's managed to regain 9th place.
Yeah, fair play to him. That was definitely a rough start he had. As oh dear,
Sorry,
Rosario.
13th.
Rosario does indeed have that black flag he's got to serve. Definitely an interesting way you could look at that. Don't get me wrong, it could have been because Michael Clark got there first. I'm not the one in race control, and indeed I don't want to be, but right now Joshua Wilford has looked at Chris Krohn's teammate, I believe, Ben Mellick, to play with as well. And certainly I think that's the first time Ben Mellick's let somebody by this race. He's been incredibly potent so far.
Yeah, lovely pace from Melik for the moment, but can he stay with Wilford, stick in the slipstream and get it done there? Another black flag for Kenneth Narvaez, and that's apparently for track limits. So I'm not too sure exactly what specifically got Narvaez that penalty, but regardless, has to drive through the pits for the second time this race, does Narvaez. That's going to put him back into 25th at best. Potentially we'll have to give something up to Quinn Manders as well and finish 26th. So that's a shame to see. Plenty of drivers that made big gains early on falling back, but the hard charger at the moment is Sean O'Brien, in fact, in 20th place, but up 9 places. He's had a good race.
Yeah, he's definitely been making some moves. He was indeed having a good battle earlier. I'm trying to remember exactly who it was with, ladies and gentlemen. Please forgive me for that one. But certainly, he's been getting into it. I believe it might have been Quinn Manders going off the top of my head. Don't quote me on it. But indeed, see Michael Clark just ahead, albeit at a disadvantage, ladies and gentlemen. He has no rear wing on that Lamborghini.
Still remaining with the damage he got from his earlier incident. Michael Clark trying his best to get a lap time on there as Joshua Travis has gotten a slowdown, and it seems that's made him lose touch with Alex Zark for the lead.
Yeah, definitely unfortunate. I'd say he's probably got a little bit too keen there on the track limits, but you can see Kevin Rosario is indeed serving that drive-through penalty, ladies and gentlemen. Race control putting him in his place.
Yeah, Kevin Rosario deemed at fault for that contact with Michael Clark coming out of pit lane, and that's going to put him down the order there, potentially outside the top 20 if he's not careful. He does come out in 20th ahead of Dustin Warren, so at the very least, Rosario hasn't lost as many as he otherwise could. Tommy Polte trying to chase down Chris Brassetti, Michael Clark not far behind. That drive-through penalty has sort of re-equalized the positions between Clark and Rosario. Clark now sitting a couple of positions ahead, but there is all the potential in the world for Rosario to make the pass back on track, with Clark now suffering for pace.
He certainly is, and indeed, Dustin Warren, we've got to give him a little bit of a shout-out, driving the only Aston Martin in the field. He's up 5 positions so far, and P10 in class.
Oh dear. I think you just cursed him, Zippy.
Pretty much. Oh, dear.
Send all complaints in writing to daniel.salmon at pitroadproductions.com. Non-existent email address, but you never know, might have to get something like that going. Dustin Warren, though, despite that spin, still managing to have an improvement on his qualifying position. Now O'Brien has caught up to Michael Clark, and it's really in those slower parts of the circuit where he's really getting the advantage. Clark will obviously have a bit more straight line speed now with no rear wing, but that isn't much help when you have so many tough chicanes to navigate.
Yeah, it certainly won't, but indeed, we're going to see Michael Pacheco now getting into a battle once again. Jack Minter looking to try and apply a bit of pressure there, as indeed, do you want to defend or do you want to attack? And certainly, pretty much sure it could go either way. Certainly the Porsche there are going to be pretty hot on the brakes, and he is indeed the McLaren in the middle of this Porsche sandwich. Jack Minter, I believe, was the AM Championship, Bronze Championship winner last season, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly he has indeed, now we've gone down to 2 classes, indeed, got a... managed to actually surprisingly stay in that GTD class, indeed, but certainly applying a good amount of pressure here to the back of Pacheco, and indeed can see the opportunity ahead of Wilton Palermo as well.
Certainly can. I just noticed that Joshua Wilford had a very bizarre issue. He was running up ahead in 7th, but over the last couple of corners, he pulled out of the way down the run to Piratella. This is a bit of a mystery, Zippy. I'm not sure what's gone on here. He's actually been slow. No slowdown, but apparently some kind of hardware issue, potentially. Not sure what's happened to Wilford here.
Yeah, that's definitely does not fit the usual characteristics. He's got incredible pace. I would suspect is that... Oh, dear.
Oh, Michael Clark is around. And it looks like...
There we go.
Okay, Sean O'Brien's gotten past Michael Clark, but how exactly? Is this a mistimed move at Aquaminerale, or did Clark do this to himself? At the apex, looks like the slide was already going, so though Sean O'Brien did make heavy contact, I don't think that was necessarily his fault.
Yeah, I'd say he was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and indeed that is now a snout-nosed Porsche, ladies and gentlemen, which is going to be under attack here from Kevin Rosario very, very shortly. So does Hammond Quinn Manders as well.
Oh dear, Quinn Manders in the McLaren having a tough time of things here. Tried to make his way around Kenneth Narvaez. Contact on the exit of Piratella? No. But Aquaminerale, the next corner. This has been one of the center points for incidents in this race. And, looks like ultimately he did it to himself again.
Yeah, certainly Aquaminerale, yeah, definitely claiming a few prisoners here today, but indeed, Kevin Rosario applying a good amount of pressure there to Sean O'Brien. Meanwhile, further up the field, though, Manuel Sandoval still having a battle here, and this time it's going to be with Mike Rose.
Yeah, Mike Rose up 7 places. He's had a very successful time here today. Only 2 laps going to remain once they cross the line here. Can Manuel Sandoval get it done on him? Their fastest lap times only separated by about a 10th, but Mike Rose is clearly the faster of the 2 in the short term. Was 3/10 faster than Sandoval on the last lap. Michael Belair, the fastest car on track that lap at a 141.5. He is going to try and chase down Maxwell Budd and make it a battle for 3rd overall once more.
Yeah, certainly he's going to have to do it quickly, ladies and gentlemen, as indeed we've got about, let me see here, about 3 minutes left of this race. A little bit of zippy map here, but right now it's the middle of the pack where things look to be getting spicy. Amrit Pastrana leading this charge, but he's got the likes of Javi Sierra, Jay Williams, Joshua Wilford, Ben Mellick, Chris Crone, all looking to try and take a piece of the action. This is the battle going down from P7 to P12.
Yep, the real sim racing duo in the Mercedes bringing up the rear of this pack. Vestrala coming under more attack here from Harvey Sierra, and it looks like Williams and Wilford are going to come together as well on the exit of Tosa there. The number 4 versus the number 1. Is there anything that Wilford can do to regain any more positions before the end? 10th place is certainly not what he would want. He needs to try and get that championship points run going after getting no points at the opening rounds, or not as many points as he'd want. So deep on brakes at Aquaminerale, and it looks like he might have sent the BMW off-piste. Oh, dearie me. I'm not too sure what's going on there. Maybe a bit of miscommunication between the drivers. In any case, Wilford makes up the place.
Yeah, I have a feeling he just had so much more closing speed, was not really expecting Williams to break at that point, and that's why they had a little bit of a coming together. But indeed, I've got to say, these two fellas here, I'm loving the fact that we got 2 cars side by side, but indeed they're probably hoping to be a little bit further up through the field. Chrome down 7, indeed Malik down 2, but don't get me wrong, they have been indeed potent in this race so far.
They have. But they've both had their fair share of problems. It's been a difficult one for real sim racing. Amrit Vestrala, meanwhile, up 8 places. Javi Sierra up 9. 2 of the biggest gainers in the top 10 here, and there's yet more potential for a fight between them. Sierra is not pushing as hard as I expected him to there. I thought his inputs would be a bit more aggressive, but sometimes the mark of a fast driver is how slow their driving looks. And I think it was Alain Prost who said, if I look like I'm driving slow, I'm actually driving fast.
Indeed, Reese Gardner there with the famous expertise, ladies and gentlemen. But certainly, my expertise is going to be stuck to where Harry Sierra can indeed find his way ahead of Amrit Pastrana. This is about for P7 overall. Harry Sierra up 9 positions, Amrit Pastrana up 8. There really isn't a lot to separate the 2 of them. On iRating, Harry Sierra about 600 points clear. But don't get me wrong, Wilford's lurking in the background, and that gap now under a second.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough fight here in the last couple of laps. 35 seconds remaining on the clock as Alex Zart crosses the line in the lead. That is going to be the start of the final lap here at Imola in the Podium 1 Fixed Series Championships. Joshua Wilford with a big power slide there on the exit of Variante Alta. But Alex Zart, though he was briefly under threat from Joshua Travis coming out of the pit cycle, has reasserted himself as the runaway leader of this race.
Well, I gotta say, fair play to him. You know, Joshua Travis has been an absolutely incredible pace today in the BMW, which is one of the older GT3 cars, but certainly nothing wrong with it by any means. I do find, though, in that the 6th gear, a little bit of a waste. Very rarely is it utilized, but I do believe something's happened in the track. Certainly, Kevin Rosario looks like he's had a move there with Sean O'Brien.
Yeah, looks like Rosario falling down the order and towed back to the pits. Let's see how it happened here. Oh, a bit of contact on the way into Tamburello, but Rosario was ultimately undone by the curb here, I think. Losing a bit of pace there. No, actually, it looks like O'Brien might have tried again at Villeneuve. This is tough to work out. What exactly happened to Rosario? Was it Tosa that was ultimately his undoing here?
No, it does tell me that he did indeed go off track, ladies and gentlemen. There's a little bit more of a wiggle there. Fair play, he may have indeed got away with it, but something happened as Greg Boyce managed to find his way by as well.
Yeah, Rosario is towed back to pit lane on live pictures, so I'm not entirely sure what happened to him. I think it might have been Aqua Minerale that did it for him. Greg Boyce having his own issue there, going off the circuit. But we should go back to live pictures because we got our race winner coming across the line. Alex Zart with a fantastic drive and manages to take the win. Joshua Travis with a black flag for track limits right at the end. That might be the difference between him keeping the win and losing it in the AM class. Michael Belair is a long way behind on track. Maxwell Budd just misses out on finishing second overall, but that black flag will be transitioned into a time penalty. Amrit Vestrala off in the final corners here. Oh, he's going to go descending down the order. Javi Sierra trying his best to take advantage as there's a lap car alongside, but we'll need to give that one to Amrit Vestrala. He manages to hold on to 9th, but my goodness, a lot of drama there on the final lap.
Yeah, and I have a feeling that's exactly why. A little bit of a gong show back there, I've got to be honest, gents. I'm not quite sure what happened. Wilford able to come out on top of that. We're going to need to see that from another angle. Look at the power slide there, just trying to scramble. It's almost like a Jack Russell screaming to get grip on a piece of sheet ice, ladies and gentlemen. Fair play, best way I could describe it. Let's try and get that from another angle here as well.
Yeah, so it looks like Javi Sierra definitely made contact with Amrit Vestrala there into the braking zone. He had Wilford trying up his inside, so understandable. But Sierra slowing down there to let Amrit Vestrala rejoin the track ahead of him. That's a good way to get some brownie points for sportsmanship and avoid the wrath of race control. So, last couple of cars to come across the line. It looks like Narvaez and Clark, the last drivers to cross the line here today. Tough time for the both of them. A tough time for so many drivers in this race. It was chaos at Imola that reigned here. And with that, Joshua Travis's black flag is applied as a post-race time penalty. He got the black flag on the final lap and couldn't serve it properly. So he's been demoted to 15th overall. That is a disaster for Joshua Travis, who would have taken the win in the AM class. As it stands, it's going to fall to Michael Belair, who finishes 3rd overall behind Alex Zart and Maxwell Budd. That's going to be your results then for our overall podium. Mike Rose and Manuel Sandoval classified 4th and 5th overall, with Wilford making his way back to 6th. Chris Krohn, Amrit Vestrala, Javi Sierra, and Jay Williams round out the top 10.
As we have a look there in P11, that's going to be taken by Ben Mellick. A good battle indeed with Wilton Palermo in 12th. Michael Pacheco took 13th with Jack Minter in 14th. Joshua Travis definitely the most sympathy from this commentator for this race by any means. Definitely unfortunate timing for a penalty indeed. Puts him back into 15th place. I don't know how I feel about that one, honestly. It's you go over the limit, you should be penalized by the last lap. You know, how far did he go over? And certainly this is why the automated stuff, indeed the incident warnings and thresholds, is the better part of it. CJ, a very fair man, but indeed, I think it's just unfortunate timing on his part, and definitely something he will want to work on for the next round. He's definitely got pace, but Chris Bracetti takes 16th with Tommy Poldy in 17th, Sean O'Brien in 18th, Greg Boyce there in 19th. That's the Ferrari you saw having a little bit of an incident earlier on lap 1. Taking 19th with Matt Jones in 20th.
21st place in the end was Andrew Garov, with Dustin Warren, Kenneth Narvaez, and Michael Clark, the last finishers on the lead lap there. Quinn Manders and Sean Phillips a lap down. Kevin Rosario classed 2 laps down, ending his race towed in the pits. Kerry Corcoran, half an hour ago, towed back to pit lane with heavy damage, and Pierce Fox also out early on. Big shame for the both of them. They had great potential for a top 10 today, but man, we've got quite a bit to talk about with these drivers. First off, we can have a chat to Alex Zart, who will join us here on the main stage momentarily. Congratulations on the victory, Alex. It looked like you were under quite a bit of pressure coming out of the pit cycle from Joshua Travis, but other than that, it was a case of managing the traffic and managing the incidents.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, starting out of the front there, it looked like there was a little bit of an incident behind, which always is great to feel when you're on the front and see a couple cars going off in the back. So about managing the gap after that point. I knew off tracks would be tricky here, just managing them throughout the race, and so really was conservative during the first part of the race and didn't want to waste too many of those and then maintain the gap, but made life pretty difficult on myself coming out of the pits. I wasn't sure if we'd get that extra lap or not, so kind of overfueled a bit, and yeah, I was able to get it right out of the pits, get cold tires, and kind of pull away from there. But overall, really fun race.
Yeah, it's certainly going to help your championship standing here. We're still yet to get to the second half of the season here. How you run the first half of the season often defines how your overall championship goes, so you must be happy with how it's gone so far.
Yeah, it's been great so far. I mean, we're 4 races in. The first one, it was kind of my first race in the Podium 1 series, so took it a little easy there, and then really been aggressive since then, and it's been a lot of fun. A long season left. It's one of the longer GT3 seasons I've been in, so looking forward to a lot of the rest of the races ahead. A lot of great tracks ahead as well, so should be a really tight season. A lot of great drivers out there as well.
Speaking of tracks to come, Long Beach is going to be next week. Now, if we were thinking that the incident limit was going to be a problem here at Imola, it's certainly going to be one at Long Beach, and I think you're going to be driving very carefully there.
Yeah, definitely. The tight walls at Long Beach, the open qualifying is going to be really interesting there. We have a lot of pace variety in this field, so track position in qualifying is going to be really important, and then as we know, it's really difficult to overtake at that tight track, so it will be interesting, a lot different than this week, but definitely a fun challenge.
Brilliant job today, Alex. Thanks for joining us. Congratulations on your victory. Hopefully we'll see you again next week.
Thank you much.
Alex Zart there, the overall winner. Now, we have a couple of other drivers to talk to here, Zippy. I understand that Mike Belair is here as well, taking the win in AM and finishing 3rd overall.
Well, Mike, definitely a absolutely incredible race from yourself, and indeed doing phenomenal there in that AMG. By all means, are you the same person I'm thinking of? Would you be Darwin's son by chance?
No, that's Hudson.
Damn it. I was so close. I saw Speed Designs and I put 2 and 2 together and got 5. Ladies and gentlemen, my math obviously still consistent, but certainly, Mike, you were incredibly potent here today at Imola. How did you find the AMG? Is that the car that you'd want for the entire season, or was it Imola just like a little bit stronger?
You know, I've actually driven this car quite a lot with a lot of the GT3 races that we've done, so I've had a lot of time in it, and I really do enjoy the car. I mean, it's got its tracks it's good at and its tracks it's not, but it was really great to drive today.
By all means, definitely sounds like a lot of fun. By all means, can you try and turn your microphone up for us a little bit? I can barely hear you, and I've got you maxed out. I'm trying to crank it up that a little bit more, but certainly one of the more beautiful cars on the grid. That blue, that green, that Speed Designs livery, but certainly how well is it going to fare at Long Beach? Certainly, it's not unheard of to get a little bit of a graze there on pretty much any panel on the car, but Long Beach being a city circuit, it's definitely not going to be as forgiving. Yourself, how would you feel about that particular venue?
You know, actually, I love Long Beach. I grew up just down the street from there and used to go to the races with my dad. And for some reason, that track just does well for me. So in LMP2s and GT3, I've done really well in that track.
Well, certainly, we're looking forward to seeing it. And what an absolutely incredible result as well. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the driver of the number 33. It's Mike Belair.
Thank you.
Brilliant job from Mike Belair today, and we are finally joined by Mike Rose, who finished third in the pro class. Congratulations on that, Mike. It was a really tough one. You were one of the drivers that moved the most in the top 10, starting 12th. Did you anticipate that it would be as difficult as it was?
No, luckily I got lucky, I guess. I got unlucky during quali and got caught up in a group which hindered my best lap time, unfortunately. That's all right, because it put me in a position where at the start of the race, where we had a couple incidents, I had some clean air, and I had enough of a gap between me and the cars in front of me to react accordingly. And I managed to jump a couple positions right up there on the first lap, and from there on out, it was just a matter of trying to fuel save. I gained one position, I think, on the pit stop, and then just enough pressure on Sandoval, and I think he cracked with about 3 laps left to go. So got a little lucky there.
Yeah, but regardless, still a podium finish, and your pit stop was one of the quicker ones that we saw there, 11.5 seconds. Was there any doubt as to your ability to get to the end after that?
No, I actually overfueled. I had about a half a lap of fuel extra, maybe 3/4 of a lap of fuel extra. I played it as smart as I could when I was trapped behind a couple cars, because for most of that race, I was behind at least 2 people. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to attack the person in front of me, rather just fuel save into every single corner possible, which in turn translates into a slightly shorter pit stop, and I got an extra lap, it seems, compared to a lot of the other people that were on track.
Well, regardless, a good result for you, and I'm sure you'll carry that momentum forward to Long Beach next week. Big congratulations on the podium, mate. We appreciate you jumping in.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Mike Rose getting third place in GTD Pro today in the Podium Fixed Series Championship. Zippy, looks like that's going to be everyone that we have time to talk to here today. And, well, coming out of that one, goodness me, I think there's going to be a lot of debate amongst the drivers between them and race control, especially with the streets of Long Beach being next on the schedule.
Oh yeah, if you're going to pick up a penalty, Long Beach is definitely a place to do it, ladies and gentlemen. Not only that, if you pick up a drive-through, why not pick up a beverage on the way through? Have a chat with Carbliss, maybe they can supply you one as well. But certainly, I absolutely loved that broadcast today, Reese. I think it's definitely one of the finer ones we've had. We've had a good lot of racing here on Pit Road Productions very recently. Certainly, we've had the people in the chat as well. It's been pretty busy, I've got to say. We've got a couple of new people there in the chat as well. By all means, make sure you hit that subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to do the joke again. You already know where it's going, but we are so close to hitting 1,000 subscribers. Ladies and gentlemen, this is like having 11 nuggets in a 12 nugget meal. We just need that one more. We've got the barbecue sauce, we've got the sweet and sour, we even got the plum sauce as well. But we need that last nugget. If you could get us there, that would be absolutely fantastic. But certainly, Reese, I think it's that time of the show if you'd like to do the honors.
A big thanks to everyone for tuning in tonight. A fantastic show. Big thanks to CJ and the whole crew at Podium 1, including Dustin as well, who's done an awful lot of the setup for this championship. Our sponsors, Carbliss, Nixon Power, Moser Racing, Speed Designs, and of course, Podium 1 Racing. Here at Pit Road Productions, my name is Reese Gardner, Daniel Zippy Salmon alongside me in the commentary box and producing behind the scenes. Thanks everyone for joining us. We'll see you next week at Long Beach. Oh dear.